Okay, it's 4:30, so let's stand for the pledge allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's like everyone's here this evening, so we have a quorum. First thing on the agenda here is the minutes of the August 30th meeting. I think that was sent out to us. Is there any changes or corrections or additions? For hearing none, I'm going to make a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
I'll second that.
Okay, we got a first, Greg, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So this carried as we go. So I want to have the, I guess before we start the meeting, I want to, thank, I guess you, from Forest Park Government Students. Could you maybe introduce yourself?
I'm Grace Woodhull, I'm a senior at Forest Park.
Okay.
And Naya Jones, I'm also a senior.
Okay, well, thanks for coming. I hope you can keep you interested tonight. So, all right. The first thing here on the agenda, I guess, Brett, was additional appropriations.
Yep. Okay, Steve's filled all the paperwork out here. So additional appropriations for tires and equipment repairs out of highway are the first ones.
Okay.
It has been a rough year, so we're just extra money in there for stuff. I know we have a triaxle in there that needs some serious work, things like that. So I don't have much on the highway side, but that's what Steve told me. So
He's got $5,000 in tires,
Yes.
and he's got $25,000 for equipment repairs.
Okay. So we would need a motion to approve that for highway. It's under other services.
Mhm.
So do we have to do 5 and 25 separately?
I have two separate ordinance forms.
Okay, so let's start with the supplies of $5,000.
Tires.
Yeah, for the tires, I'm sorry.
Move to be approved at higher $5,000.
So,
I second.
yeah, first and a second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, so the tires, so the next one is the equipment repairs of 25,000, and you can't go really into depth, that's just,
it's just repair to all the equipment we've got running around. Like I said, it's been a hard year so far, so I think Steve's just making sure we got enough in there. I know we have, like I said, we have a triaxle that is down. One of our excavators, one of the main drives went out of it, so that took a little bit, took quite a chunk of change. So he just wants to make sure he needs to fix the triaxle, and he wants to make sure he has enough in there for later in the year too.
so I need a motion then to approve the equipment repairs for $25,000. Okay. Craig and Alex, you second. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, so that carries it. 25,000 equipment repair. And then next is Hume Bridge.
Hume Bridge, okay, repair and maintenance, that is similar to what the highway is. We just got our several pieces of equipment that needs some TLC things fixed here. I know our big excavator had something going on with it that they had a leak they were trying to fix. We're just cutting it close. We've got 2 more months of the year. We're gonna make sure we can finish the year for a Hume Bridge repair.
And that is $5,000.
That's $5,000.
Okay. So any questions on that? So let's, I'll entertain a motion to approve repairs and maintenance of $5,000 for Hume Bridge.
Make a motion.
It has made a motion to approve. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Becky seconded. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, so that carries. Okay, the next is tools and.
Tools and equipment, that's the big one. So we currently use wood forms for all our bridges, plywood forms, 2x4 backing. They last about 3 years. Well, we're running through them so fast, we're actually probably losing money. You replace a form every 3 years, that money adds up really fast. Talked to the commissioners, they were on board with it. Go get aluminum forms. They cost a little bit up front, but then we got something in theory, as long as we don't break them a bunch of holes through or whatever, they'll last forever, in theory. I know obviously they won't, but they'll last a heck of a lot longer. When found a quote for $48,772 from local, well, I shouldn't say local, Kansas City, but a lot of people from around here utilize them. So with that being said, we're asking for an additional 60 for any other kind of tools we're gonna need later in the year. Because we didn't want to cut it just down to 50 or whatever, we wouldn't have it for the rest of the year. So that's what we're asking for.
So do those, I'm out of curiosity, do those take a lot more work to clean?
No, all research we've done, it actually is a lot quicker. They just simply tap with a hammer and work the concrete out once it dries, and it falls right off. Every winter, we'll have to spray some kind of cleaner oil on it to help seal them back up, but they're supposed to be a breeze to clean. Javinsky's Contracting and who was on we talked to, they're the ones that said they're so easy to clean. It's amazing. Compared to wood, wood, everything sticks to that. So
Right. Okay, well, that's good. So it's, and then we, naturally, those would come back, I mean, they would be something that could be theft off the job.
and each one has its own individual serial number, which is good. And each form has its own individual serial number, and they're all printed in multiple places. So if they try to file one off, there's about 4 more on there. We'll have a complete list of all our serial numbers in all of our forms, which is pretty handy. So if one of them would disappear, we can probably track it down. And we'll tell all the scrap yards that we've got them. I think a lot of contractors have already told them, hey, if a form comes in, why don't you call us before you start paying them or accept them.
But thanks, yeah, that's
Yeah.
good policy, because I'd say that's something that's, it's gonna be lifted off of the
Yeah.
job site.
How long will it take for you to get a payback on those versus the ones you're replacing every 3 years?
A wood form right now costs us $100 for a 4x8 It's roughly 104. Well, it was $100, but now we would want $140 this form. And we've got roughly 60 of them on the thing, so it doesn't take long. I mean, this is 3 years. I should have this paid off if I rotate through.
Any other questions or? Brad? Okay, so I'll entertain a motion for tools and equipment of $60,000, including the bridge form, so. Sonia's made a motion, and a second.
I'll second.
Charlie seconded, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Fred, thanks.
Okay. You guys have any information? Okay. I'm gonna have
Appreciate
you.
it.
Go out of your cloud,
Okay, so, next on the agenda is the Dubois County Park. Christine, thanks for coming tonight.
Thank you. I wanted to update you on park project because it is a significant investment for county. As you know, we put out the project to bid in the summertime, and we have a $500,000 project, a $250,000 grant from the Department of Natural Resources, and then another $250,000 from our non-reverting fund that we've built up over the years. It gave us $500,000. When we put the bids out, they came back at $1.1 million. So obviously we were a little bit short. So we looked around, we tweaked the plan. We had the electrical conduit. It was our copper, they're gonna put in aluminum, so we can cut down some expenses there. Another place we found that we might be able to cut down some of the utilities is there's a water line that is metered to the 4-H council, and it's about 5 feet from not 5 feet, but within a very small distance from where we're gonna put the restroom. However, the line that they were gonna put in for us was like totally across the parking lot, so 100 feet or something. And so we decided that we'll talk with the 4-H council, see, because we already share utilities. If we can't, work something out that they know that restroom is going to probably increase the utilities, but since we already are working on it together, there's no sense, spending $25,000 on a line that isn't really going to do anything but have a separate meter on it. So it was things things like that we were able to look at. We feel like we will be able to reduce the infrastructure, water, electric, those types of things by about 150,000. Just looking at those little things that we can tweak. So we felt like that brings it down some. We were able to get it down to around 850, 900,000. So we've asked the Dubois County Commissioners through the American Rescue Plan if they could provide us with funding. They've agreed to provide us with 350,000. That with the 500,000 we already had gets us to 850,000. So we feel that that is sufficient for us to go to bid again. So we will be bidding it out this fall. One of the things that we learned from contractors, because we had a significant number of contractors at our pre-bid meeting, however, we only got one bid. They told us that one of the things was the timing. They like to bid in the fall and then schedule it throughout the next year. We had asked for a bid in the summertime and asked for them to start before the end of the year. That was something they didn't feel like they could do. They also felt, I personally felt, they knew what our budget was. They knew that they weren't going to be able to come close to that, and so they didn't bid. One of the things that our architect is doing, he's going to break it out so that we can bid the restroom, the trails, and the campsite separately, because he felt like the trails and the campsite were mostly excavation type work where the restroom was built up. And sometimes those are different firms. Sometimes a firm can do both, and our ability might subcontract to somebody else. We felt like breaking it into 3 separate projects within this first phase, we might be able to get more bids, because somebody might say, hey, yeah, I can do the trails, I just can't do the restroom. So we feel like that's an opportunity for us to get more bids. With more bids, there's more competition, we'll have a little bit more to negotiate. So there again, we've been working on it. The other thing we looked at was the funding. We don't want to keep coming back to the county and saying, hey, we're now on to phase 2, we'd like some more money. So one of the things that we are looking at, because when we look at the plan that we had developed, it's a multi-phase plan. It has a lot of different things for the park: trails, playgrounds, campsites, restroom, all of those different things are built in. But we knew we couldn't fund it all at once. The other thing we knew is that we wanted to reach out to the community. So we're going to work with the Dubois County Community Foundation, looking for donors that this might interest them. But the reason why we didn't say, oh, let's do that right now, is we also feel like we have to inform people what we're doing out there. So if I'm going to come to you and I'm going to ask you for a significant donation, a private donation for the park, you're going to want to understand it. You're going to want to feel like you are investing in something good. And we didn't feel like we had the time to explain that to donors, because if we're going to go to bid this fall, we need to know that we have the money, right? I can't ask and get $350,000, $400,000 worth of donations in 3-4 months. So we're going to be looking long-term to build with the Community Foundation funds for those next phases. We feel that with the County Commissioners agreement from the ARP money, because part of those funds are supposed to be going for mental health, we believe the park is a very fundamental part of the mental health of Dubois County. While I will agree that water and sewer and those types of infrastructure are essentials of life, and we need to make sure that we have those good infrastructure parts, nobody moves here because we have great water and sewer. They are looking for the amenities of life when they are looking for that place that they're going to move to. And right now, retaining and attracting talent is a big thing for Dubois County. That mental health that provides fulfills the American Rescue Plan, and it also fulfills Dubois County's mission of attracting and retaining talent for Dubois County. So I want to let you know that we will be going to bid again this fall. We know that we have the 500,000 that we initially had. We have the 350,000 from ARP. Department of Natural Resources is aware this is how we're going to fund it. We need to tweak to make sure that we don't disregard their bylaws. And we will be going forward. We do have a little bit of cushion in our non-reverting should it come in at that 900,000 instead of the 850. We feel we have some funding that we can make up there, but we feel like we have a solid plan for moving forward, not only for this first phase, but for the future phases of the park. Questions?
The grants you receive, and they have requirements, or do those requirements fall into all three of those categories? Yeah, the restroom, the trails,
The Department of Natural Resources required, we told them we would do three things. We would do the trails, the restroom, and the campsites. We have to keep true to that with the Department of Natural Resources. We do feel that we can somehow split this project out so that we are fulfilling all three of those entities and still keeping true to what we told them we would do. And also making sure that in accordance with that, because it's federal funds, we can't match federal with federal, and the American Rescue Plan is federal. So we already have that built. We just have to make sure that we keep a separate tracking of those
What
funds.
is their deadline? What's the deadline for that?
Their deadline is June of 2023.
Okay.
And that was one of the other reasons we didn't feel like we had time to put this bid off again, because we feel like the construction needs to be complete in 2022, or at least nearly complete, so that we can tie up all the paperwork with DNR before that due date in June of 2023.
Is the DNR gonna evaluate the timber stand where that's going? Is there a lot of ash trees that are gonna have to be removed? Or when I came out there, it looks like a lot of white oak. But I know you don't want to cut everything down, but you don't want anything to fall in the camper either.
No, we've already done some preliminaries looking at what we would need to cut, because that's the whole thing too. We have done some timber stand improvements and we've cut some timber, but we're a park. We're not gonna clear cut, but we know that strategically we're gonna have to remove some trees. And we're trying to make sure that those that we remove, it's not so detrimental to the nature.
Any questions? Christine? I mean, I had said something that Sandy, because I didn't know if the council had approved these, the funds for these, since, the commissioners and evidently, since he gave it,
We did one broad appropriation,
so.
but I didn't know if you had to individually.
So it's really up to it's really a decision of the commissioners, so.
Like I said, I just wanted to keep you apprised, because every year we do come to you and we ask you to approve our budget, so that you know that, we're not being frivolous with the funds that you guys give us. We do have some return on investment. I think we figured out that it's about $1,500 a year that we give back on our campsites. So we're hoping by adding these 14 campsites, that is another $20,000 back to us and back to the county. We're never going to be sustainable. That's not our purpose. Our purpose is to provide recreation for the health and well-being of our citizens. And that's why we come to you and we ask you for funding. So.
One question on the 5-year plan, I guess, I think there's a question here out there now. Is that too late to answer that, or is that?
It's open until October 15th.
Okay, so if anyone,
Yeah.
if anyone on council.
Please do those, because that again is something that the Dubois County Park takes care of for all the parks in the county. This Department of Natural Resource grant that we were able to go after, the other parks will be able to go after Department of Natural Resource grants because they are within that 5-year plan. So it's very important for us to invest that money in making sure we have a good plan, that we are hearing from the people. We feel like when we did our master plan for the park, one of the things that we did in 2019, seems so long ago now, but we actually, on the last day of camping in 2019, we met with a lot of the campers and said, here's our plan. Tell us if this meets with what you all want. So, we're trying to make sure that we are reaching out to people and hearing what they want.
And one thing that you may have touched on it, but the architecture of the the restroom area and the meeting area there by the trail, the lake trail. Can you explain that? I've seen it a lot of times. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
One of the things that we feel, a lot of people don't realize that there's the 4-H fairgrounds and there's the Dubois County Park. And I think another thing is that stand of trees, and if you go out there now, there's this chain link fence there, right? That's not very inviting. So one of the things we want to do is we want to take down that chain link fence. We want to put a restroom right there because, let's face it, if you're out there fishing and your 3-year-old says he has to go to the bathroom, running all the way to the 4-H fairground.
The Clover Pavilion's very far.
Anybody here who has children knows. But, so we want to make sure that there's a restroom on that side. And it also has to serve the purpose of saying, this is the Dubois County Park, welcome. So, we thought about really skimping that down because, we could take a lot of things out of it. But I'm not sure that's what the people would want. I think they want quality. And so we wanted to make sure that that also had a statement that you are now entering Dubois County Park. There's going to be, restrooms right there for people so that if they're at the Angel Memorial, if they're at the lake fishing, if they're walking, that there is a place for them to go. And then it will also welcome people and give information on the park itself. So that's going to be kind of an informational and restrooms. So
It's been interesting. People that I know that they've been to the park, they know of it, but they don't know there's trails. There's so many things to do out there that people just don't even realize.
I just this week I got a email from Indiana Tourism talking about the great trails in Southwest Indiana. I think some of you I sent it to, and I said within 6 years I want the Dubois County Park to be on here. That we are a destination for people who want to walk and hike, because we do plan on having different types of trails. If you walk around the lake, it's very even, it's very smooth, so if you're rehabilitating, it's a great path to walk. But we're also looking at what's being referred to right now as the Rough Riding Trail. So as you go through the woods, you're doing a hike, you're not walking on a trail, you are doing a hike. Because we know there are people who have different mobility and different interests, and we're trying to reach out to all those.
2 things I've noticed. The camping apps that I look at, you get good reviews on there, 4 or 5 stars almost every review.
Thank you.
The one problem, I camp there like 5 times a year for 2 nights, and these like permanent residents will come up and say, when are you leaving? We want to stay here. And they want it for 2 weeks. They want the site for 2 weeks and they leave for a day and they come back. I don't know if we could maybe do something about that, because honestly, there's literally the same.
Yeah,
this
we
group.
we have that 2-week limit because we know that if we did not, April 1st, somebody would come out there and they would be there until October 31st. So we actually have people who want us to extend that time. We feel like 2 weeks, because one of the things we have found is people will come out there, they will stay, and they will go to work during the day, and then they, have time with their family and friends out there. We don't want to discourage that, but we also feel that's one of the reasons why we need to add campsites, because we have, one of the things that I found, and I put this in the letter to Chad, is that every year for the last 8 to 10 years, the amount that we have been seeing on our camping has risen. So we know that more and more people are coming out to camp. They're staying longer. we have all those campsites being rented. In 2019, we had a little over 50,000. In 2020, because of COVID, we were closed for 2 full months. Our revenue should have been down by a third, but it was only down by 14% because people wanted to come out there. So we understand that, and there are prime spots, and that's what we tell people. If you want a prime spot, you just gotta come out and get it. And so that's you probably picked one of the prime spots. We've also found that there are some, just the way they're together, that makes it good for like multiple campers to have their little campsite together. But there again, that's one of the reasons why we need to add campsites, so that we have more and better campsites, because when some of these campsites were built, it was, you had this little thing on the back of your pickup, right? Now it's 30-some feet, and so, you know, Mark Daniel on our board is a camper, and that's one of the things we're like, okay, Mark, is this big enough? Because I think they're like 70 feet long now.
And I just didn't know if you were gonna go to an online reservation, because the first come, first serve. I mean, there's vehicles parked there, people throw tents in the spots. I mean, it's a little iffy if you wanna bring people from out of state to camp there seeing that. I don't know that they're gonna be as comfortable, and online booking helps that a lot.
Well, one of the things that we looked at is somebody's gonna manage that. And right now, we have 2 full-time staff people, and they are busy with maintaining the 4-H fairgrounds and the park. If we go to an app or some sort of online reservations, we have to hire somebody to manage that, because you're gonna have to take the deposits, you're gonna have to pay back if somebody doesn't show up. You're gonna have to monitor to say, wait a minute, this one's reserved, you can't be there. Maybe in a few years, if we add, because in our plans, we could add another 100 campsites. We've developed where those would be. If we have that many campsites and we're bringing in that kind of revenue, then it might be worth having somebody do it. But right now, we're still gonna try to do the first come, first serve. But we are definitely aware that that's not ideal.
Since Stuart is here, I heard one meeting you're working out, like 911. There's an emergency out there, that it's explaining how to get there, how to find it.
I don't have an answer for that. I wish I did. It's addressed. I think any of the local responders would be very familiar with the territory. Certainly the San Antonio Fire Department, very familiar with it. They're out there for some events. The sheriff's deputies, a brand new trooper who's not from Dubois County, who's been assigned here. I don't know. That's going to be, I think honestly, that's going to be
Just an ongoing education.
I will say that the lion's share of the emergency response is by sheriff's deputies, who are very familiar. Whether they want to be or not, they're out there for the 4-H fair, and then they get, but a lot of the guys, and I know, speaking for myself, when I was patrolling, that was just part of my regular route, was driving through the park, talking to, sometimes hanging out with some kids, saying hi, or just making patrols through the night. And it is one of the concerns that's been in the past, is the restroom activity. Of course, there is a whole world of illegal drug use out there that concerns everybody. You don't want that going on around the children at the park, and the restrooms invite that behavior. But it's just gonna, I think it's been a focus of patrol work for the sheriff's office over the years, and I would imagine that the sheriff could speak, but I would imagine it would continue just the same, if not more, if there was an expansion there.
And that's something we can look into. If we have our campsites grouped certain ways, maybe that there's information so that dispatch can say, are you in campsite A, B, or C?
We do, and at dispatch, we do have maps of several properties where this is an issue. We hope that our dispatchers are able to describe it well. It's difficult giving instructions over the radio in the middle of the night. You can't say, take left at the big oak tree, you can't see anything. But it's not been as big of issue is what you would expect. We do have a response territory that is the fisherman's campground at Topa Lake, and is in Dubois County. The biggest portion of it is in Dubois County. And we have overcame that historically. Even recently, they were up there with the domestic situation. I think made an arrest. I don't know, over the summer. There are those properties where it's an issue, and we get a paper map, old fashioned paper map hanging in our dispatch center, and our staff can look at it. I mean, the clearer it is, and the clearer that the signage is, that's within the park, and that's critical. Anybody that's a first responder should be able to recognize that. But, I don't mind the park board reach out to me, and we can put our heads together if that time comes, or when that time comes, to assist with signage and try to get it mapped out to where we can, with my experience as a responder and my position now, I would gladly come to them, their aid.
We're gonna also want them to know where all the trails are, so if somebody does trip and fall and breaks, something,
And that's the
that you
thing,
know which trail they're on.
the lion's share of the dispatchers are gonna be for medical situations, where we're gonna have first responders. It's not gonna, it's gonna be guys from San Anthony Fire Department and Memorial EMS that are gonna be responding, but we play a pretty important role in that, but I'll help out any way I can. I'm glad to see our park be expanded. That's good. Good deal.
Like I said, we feel like this is a definite investment for the county, improvements, and we're gonna keep working on it. So obviously, you're going to see me for at least another couple of years. And I do appreciate all your support, and if you do have questions, please feel free to get in touch with me. I know that most of you have my email address, and I'm willing to answer your questions as best I can. All right?
Christine, thanks, and thank you for, and the board for all the work you do to getting this together, so thank you. And also you, Lisa, for getting that.
Well, and this is
Getting that
Jane,
grant for us.
she is our secretary, she keeps us straight. She
Well, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Okay, next on our agenda is Stuart Wilson, 911. Stuart, how are you?
Last week I sent an email that was kind of a written explanation and some promotional or sales material from the vendor that we're talking about within digital. I hope that answered ahead of time a lot of the questions about this proposal. It is, I will say, I'll preface it by saying it's a little unorthodox for the county to buy equipment that's going to be installed at the city of Jasper. We have a common agreement with the city when you look at how our 911 is structured here. So many entities like Dubois County have a secondary PSAP or answering that is like ours here is within the city of Jasper, and they staff that, they man that, and then we get surcharge dollars. So my strong opinion is that, first of all, they are due an update, without a doubt. There's no doubt in my mind, we owe them a terminal update. And we are only pushing ours off because of the idea of the possibility of us moving, and we're trying to be as frugal as we can and make that equipment that we have last as long as we possibly can. We're gonna get every bit of life out of it with the hopes that we can be buying new in 2 years. This proposal is a lot of money, but I do feel like it's the right thing to do. We take in, the county expends about $700,000 of surcharge dollars every year. It supports about 63% of our budget. It's a big number. We're not self-sustaining like everything else in government, but we're better than most. And I think they are due this equipment. They're answering the 911 calls. The big 3 points is it's equipment from 2014. It is a desktop computer. It's not realistic to ask them to continue on equipment that is that old. It's a Windows 7 environment, which at some point there will be some security risks and issues with, not being a Windows 10 environment. That is our duplicate. That's our backup. If we end up where we have to vacate our building, if we're we have a fire, we have some sort of tornado, I don't know, something, you name it, whatever emergency, we can go there. Our dispatchers can be operating in the same environment that they're used to, that they're trained in. So it gives us duplicity without paying that full price. The city has agreed that they would fund the portion that is integration into the phone system, so the dispatchers can answer via their headset. Right now, when they answer a 911 call, they are answering a handset, and then they're talking in their headset to talk on their two-way communication to their officers in the field. It is less than ideal. They have requested in the past, and it was to get similar equipment to the way we operated our center, which is everything is through a headset, period. There's no holding a handset while you're talking in a headset. It didn't have the same level of support from the director, and I just have a difference of opinion professionally that this is the right thing to do for the city of Jasper and its residents that do contribute to our budget dollars by their surcharge dollars that they pay.
Okay, so you're,
If there's specific questions about the setup, I can answer as best I can.
but basically speaking, we're talking about a request for $15,400
Yes.
for this system, for the upgrade and for City of Jasper.
And
Right.
you're talking about using surcharge $911,
I
statewide
do-
911.
I do want to use surcharge $911. I understand it's not a bottomless pit of money, and we will have some issues with that we will have to address at some point. Our surcharge dollars have not increased since 2012, and they are not keeping up. So that's a question for another budget year, but it is coming, not for this next budget year, but probably the year after. We're gonna have to have that uncomfortable talk of, we're gonna try to have to figure out where the monies are gonna come from. We have a statewide meeting. I would love to hear from the statewide board that we will get additional surcharge dollars at some point, and that money will be increased, but I'm not gonna hold my breath. I don't know, I'm very new, I'm very inexperienced, and I'm not afraid to say it, but any amount of revenue that hasn't increased for 9 years,
Yeah, explain to me how that works. I mean, with the number of cell phones that,
Agreed.
How can that number?
Cell
not
phones
go up?
don't pay as much money as
They do
landlines
not.
did.
So
The cell
landlines are going down, cell
Landline,
phones
and
are
people
going
aren't
up.
using land, and you're getting my brief, limited understanding.
She's exactly right.
Surcharge money was higher back when everybody had landlines, because $1.10 or whatever it
Yes.
was. Cell phones are about 50 cents a
It
line
used to
maybe.
be, yeah.
So they're not, even though there's more cell phones out there, we're taking in less surcharge money.
Yeah, and they are funding some other stuff that is benefits that maybe we don't see quite as clear cut. They do pay for some funding. I can submit invoices to the state board, and then they pay the vendor for training. So there is some a little offset that maybe we need to look at if we're going to look at the big picture of everything for it to be accurate. It is nice for me to keep a training budget of $5,000 and support the entire department for the entire year. Because if I couldn't submit those other invoices to the state, there's no way that $5,000 training budget accomplishes my mandated requirements. So it's hard to, it's not exactly black and white. We can make it that way with a little study and in depth, and I think the time for that is next budget year. We need to be talking about it for the 2023. I'm hopeful by then I'll have some idea. I'm gonna ask them, tell me when you expect that to be expanded. Maybe, I don't know what the answer is. I don't want to speculate.
At the end of every year, we do 3 different reports, so they know
Yeah.
the funding we have.
Yes. Yeah,
So-
they get reports. They know exactly, and that's statewide. They know from every 911 center, every PSAP has the same requirements as we do. They know where we're spending our dollars on what. And the reality is almost the lion's share of our surcharge dollars go to salaries. There's some database management and data management that also is paid for, $140,000 a year, I think, in that line item. That comes from surcharge dollars, but I recognize it's not there's an end to this at some point, and we're gonna have to figure it out.
Well,
I
it's
don't,
just-
I don't look forward to it.
We're noticing our reserves are coming down, because we're spending more.
Yeah, I think, in talking with Sandy, we got about 2.5 years to solve this from right now. So
Unless they start giving us more.
I'm trying to be forward thinking and forward looking. I don't know, we're gonna have to make some changes. We're gonna have to figure out, we're gonna have to find some solutions.
No, we did not advertise this, so it'll be on the next.
So we don't.
We just need to do a consensus.
So I think, does anybody else have any questions? I just want to thank you for the detailed email. I think it's.
Well, it's an unusual, I recognize it's an unorthodox situation and request here that wouldn't be typical. And I feel like it deserves a lengthy explanation. So I appreciate your time and consideration on it.
So we'll just have a show of hands, who all's in favor of approving the $15,400. Okay, so we'll advertise it. Good, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thanks a
Appreciate it. Have a good night.
Ryan could not be here this evening.
Okay.
He got quarantined. So, or his daughter got quarantined, put it that way. So I told him I would do it for him. It also has not been advertised, so it's just a consensus and he can possibly come next time. He has a budget of $35,000 for repair and maintenance for the ambulances. He's already transferred some of his uniform money into repair and maintenance, and they've spent all of that. He feels like he may need $15,000 to $20,000 more. So for the rest of the year, and in the event something would happen to another ambulance or need repair on an ambulance. So he would just like to have $20,000 out of county general in the ambulance budget.
20,000.
If they don't use it, it'll roll back. But they've been doing about 15,000 per quarter, so he's afraid.
Yeah, we budgeted 35,000 for this year.
And he's already spent 40,886.
And uniforms was 12. So that combined is 47.
Right. Yeah, he said he transferred out of uniforms.
We did 42,500 for next year. If we're gonna need that. We want 60,000, okay. In repairs, we budgeted 60,000 for next year. So that's good.
Yeah, I think they cut it thinking we'd have new ambulances and they wouldn't use as much, but they are.
I guess we'll just need a show of hands for $20,000 on general for repair.
Yep.
So that's total consensus, yes.
Okay.
So we're a little ahead of schedule, but I think we've got Mr. Joe Henson and Matt Eaton from Orange County. And Joe, so if you would want to maybe come up and introduce yourself, because we're on YouTube here.
Well, we are?
Yeah.
Well, good. Well, I'm Joe Henson. I'm manager out of Dubois REC. I appreciate you guys all allowing me to come and speak this evening. Can I pass these
Yes.
out? Like
I
that.
saw you and I thought, I've seen him before. Oh, it's from the electric.
You're at Dubois REC, right?
Yeah.
Dubois
well,
REC,
from
that's right.
the
The magazine.
magazine. Oh,
Yeah.
you never know. Are you Orange County? Orange County. I was gonna say, I thought someone was from Orange, we skipped the hell.
We get it there. So I've got this PowerPoint presentation. This is what we showed to Mike and Commissioner Lessinger this past week. And it is on broadband deployment here in Dubois County. We were asked, I was approached by Dubois Strong and Cole about what we could do to speed up the deployment of broadband in Dubois County. Working with Orange County Fiber, working with PSCI, and anyone else that was in the county that was willing to participate. So that's what this presentation is about. It's pretty short, but I'll go through it. And just so you know, it is just Dubois County. You see the courthouse here. Because PSCI there, of course, in Perry Spencer, Orange County Fiber is over in Orange County, Smithville, I think they're up by Ellisville, and I'm not sure where Spectrum is from, but we work with Frontier, all kinds of different fiber companies, but we're talking just mostly about 4 here in the county, and we are just talking about doing, because our service territory as well goes right outside of Dubois County, so we're just talking about doing the county of Dubois. So the second page there, if you want to turn to that page is deliverables, budget, miscellaneous things that maybe intrigue you or some questions, thoughts you might have. The first thing is if someone has in our plan, I guess let me back up just a little bit. For the preparation for this, we talked about what we could do as Dubois REC because we are not in the broadband business. So it was decided make-readies was the way to go to speed up the deployment, maybe not take 5 years, 7 years, but take 2 years or a shorter time. So we came up with that plan, and I wanted to define make-ready for you because this is what this presentation is really about, is what we would be doing to speed up the deployment. And a make-ready is a pole is not tall enough, meaning that we have to, well, I guess I'll start with the boundaries. So we have to have 40 inches between an energized piece of equipment that we have and the fiber line. So when you go along, you see the fiber, it should be about 40 inches from any energized equipment. Then we've got to be over a road or anything, we got to be 16 feet off the ground. So that does require at times that we have to change the pole. Sometimes we just have to raise our equipment to get the distance that we need. Sometimes it could even involve make-readies being a bore, that we have to bore under a road or something instead of going overhead or around a critical load or something like that. So that's the definition basically of a make-ready. So that's what we're talking about doing. And it was decided in our meetings that these make-readies would be the biggest thing that we could do to get things done. So the information here on this slide is overhead electric service. If that's what comes into your home, you're going to probably 99% chance you're going to have an overhead broadband supply. If your power comes in, electricity comes in underground, you're going to have probably 99% chance that your broadband is going to come in underground. We have a dedicated engineer out at the co-op, Greg Dilger. He manages our projects. We have lots of projects. We have work plans out for several years. But if you choose to do this, Greg, we're going to pull back off of our projects. We're going to put those off to try to make this happen and have somebody dedicated to watching costs, making sure we meet the deadlines, and making sure that we have things done so that the broadband providers can make sure that they're serving our citizens in the county. All the broadband that would be deployed would be fiber, high-speed fiber. And the next bullet point there, you can see the project timeline would be 24 months. 24 months, I want you to try to remember or think about that just a little bit. It seems like a long time at times, and then sometimes it doesn't. In this case, 24 months is not very long to get this done. I'll show you with some graphs what it really means here in a minute. But what we're talking about in the 24 months is Dubois REC would take off doing make-readies for 6 to 9 months. And then the broadband deployment would begin after that. They'd be chasing us to completion because we need to get a head start because they're going to string miles of it in a week, and then they're going to power up homes with broadband coming in behind us. So we're going to try to do that. We will do that in 24 months if we agree on this. The estimated project cost to make all these make-readies is $4.35 million. I saw PSCI's engineering study was $2 million. Matt has done a lot of this in Orange County and even some in Dubois County, and he estimates his at $2 million. And then with Smithville and Spectrum, we figure that's going to be, we've had it for $350,000 for them. We don't want the money unless we earn it. If you choose to do this, we would invoice monthly. We have work orders, which was going to track time, material, equipment, and that kind of thing. So we would only invoice for what we actually incurred in this project. So that would keep, that way we can be transparent. You can see what we've done. If you've got any questions, we go out to the job site and you can see what we've done and the equipment and materials that are used. The next page, we wanted to make sure that we covered all of our bases and talked to all of the fiber carriers that might be involved in this. And as I said, that's Orange County, Spencer, Harry Spencer, Spectrum, and Smithville. We did talk to them and cover that. So if you want to turn to the next page, just to speed up the presentation, page 4. This is Dubois County, and this is the census block areas that will be covered under this project. Some of it is already done. The green that you see down around Holland, just south of Huntingburg there, and then you see some green over by Ferdinand going up through Jasper, about 56 towards Ireland. That is PSCI, and they already have those systems in place in those areas. So that just wanted you to see what we're looking at here. Go to the next page. You see, this is up in the top left-hand corner, it says make readies, completed make readies in Dubois County. This, you can see we started up in the northeast corner of Dubois County, and we come down toward Ferdinand Forest. This is what we've done. The reason I asked you about 2 years or 24 months, this is what we've completed in the past 24 months. This is 66 miles of make readies that we've done here in 2 years. That's for Zayo, Frontier, PSCI, Orange County, Frontier, maybe even one more, I can't think of it. But this is 66 miles that we've done in Dubois County. So and this has taken a lot to do when we work in around our other jobs and with what the work that the broadband providers give us. So if you turn to the next page, you can see, if you compare this page to the previous page, this page is the page 6 is the one that we would have to get done. We would have to do all of these make readies in 2 years. Basically, PSCI has 117 miles of fiber to deploy. Orange County Fiber has a little over 400. Of that 400, I think, or of around the 400, about 66 miles have been completed. About 34 miles of the project would be duplicated, and you can see that in this map where you see the yellow indicates Orange County Fiber, the red indicates PSCI, and where you see it, like over here, if you could tell Pine Ridge Road right here, you can see the red over the yellow just a little bit, and then over here on State Road 64, that is where PSC and Orange County cross. So that's the 34 miles. I don't know if we'll have that much, but we're thinking that we've got at least 400 miles of make readies to do. It took us 2 years to do the last 66, but we weren't focused as much as we would be if the plan would be to speed it up. So that pretty much sums up the presentation. We got 400 miles of fiber to deploy. And we can ask questions, as Mike said. Matt's here to ask anything on the fiber, and I'll try to answer anything as far as the make readies.
So Joe, you had said 400 and some miles. Okay, so I thought maybe I had written down 517.
Well, that's right. We got, I think the total is, do you have 400 left to go or 500?
400 yet to build.
Okay, so you're right. That number's right. I got my number wrong. It is 500.
So, just for everybody's information, Matt Dean there is, you're the president or manager of
Yes.
Rural Electric, or EMC in Orange County, and you're maybe you could explain it probably better than I can.
Sure, yeah.
I appreciate you coming. I think, how the county is gonna get serviced, I think this is important.
Right, yeah. My name is Matt Deaton. I'm the general manager, CEO of Orange County RMC and Orange County Fiber. We got in the fiber business in 2018. And so we've been building fiber in and around to our electric members. Since then, we've served about 5,000 folks now on our fiber service. 200 of those or so are in Dubois County already. We built down past Potomac Lake Regional Water and all the way to Ferdinand. So we're turning folks on right now in that area. What Joe's talking about is areas we've been granted through federal and state grants. We look to hook up another 5,000 or so households, and we would do that in this 24-month time frame. And so that's the proposal. The make readies what that does for us is to know we can scope a project that large, 400 to 500 miles in one project. There's great economies that come with that, and knowing there's a working partnership not only with the RAC but with the county, it would just make things go really well. The grants that we have up to 6 years to deploy, and the last federal grant we got has not started paying us yet. So we would have 6 to 7 more years to deploy these areas. We think it's in Dubois County's best interest and also ours if we can fast track that somehow. That's what this proposal does.
I think that addresses my question. Let's say we spend this $4.35 million to make ready. Are there dollars on the other side from, the providers to actually build it out?
Yes.
So I just want to.
So in order to execute this project, it's $22 million, of which we're getting about $7 million in grants. And so that's the project in front of us to execute.
Do those grants have anything to do with state legislature, they passed some poll tax thing or something where they're trying to promote broadband in these rural communities? I don't remember everything on that, but.
It is somewhat related. There's poll tax or legislation that just went through that again tries to incentivize or make it easier for providers to attach to polls. But there's also specific grant programs, the Next Level Connections program, that providers submit projects and then the state can grant funds towards those matching funds.
That's what I thought. I thought I heard the state was providing more grants for underserved or no-served areas. Is that what you're talking about?
That is a portion of what we've been awarded.
I know that was something new than this year or last year, that they were being a big push to try to get all the counties to get more internet service to their poorly served areas.
Another benefit of the project is Purdue University did a study in 2019 that says for every dollar spent on gig symmetrical service, that's what we will provide with our fiber, you can expect a $4 return on that investment to the local area that it's deployed into. So, again, to think about it is, if we're spending $22 million, there's potentially an $88 million value to the county. And as well as all the things that COVID's made, that's come to light with people trying to work from home and just the overall importance of broadband is, again, we're trying to serve those that doesn't have very good service or no service at all. That's what we started in 2018 and that's what we hope to continue.
My thought is just come over to Brettsville and take my money.
We are heading that way.
Very good.
Can you say, how many households was it?
5,000 households.
So Joe, do you have any idea what PSC's investment is in Dubois County or what potential?
I do not. I don't know. I don't know what their grants are or anything like that.
So when we look at, the money you're talking about and with PSC and somewhat the other.
Smithville, Spectrum.
So I mean, the total amount of money that's privately being invested is could be $40 million or whatever, 40 $million. So I mean, this seems like it's a great deal of money, but we don't know. I think we put the effort in as the ARP committee. I think we were kind of tasked to get with you, Joe, and to see, just like you explained it. And I don't know any other way of really expediting this. If you had made a comment, I don't, that if nothing goes on here, or we don't want to get involved in it, you're probably going to go to Martin County to try to service, to use their facility,
Right. Yeah. So it's just the way the grants have worked. We have significant obligations in Crawford, Lawrence, and Martin counties that's also been granted to our area. Martin County in particular, we got granted funds to get the crane, the military installation there. So there is a, there's a priority to get there, and that's just being perfectly honest. But we also know that this opportunity that we have, when Joe approached me with this, we sat down and strategized and felt like that if this would happen, we would be happy to build everything that we have in Dubois County much quicker than we one have to, or than we originally planned. But again, it's a good opportunity. It's a great area overall to build to, and working with another REC that that certainly makes things go well.
So would this be considered 100% of all citizens of Dubois County? I mean, in the 4.3 million we're spending, we're catching everybody. We're not missing anybody. Is that?
I don't think that's a fair statement.
Okay.
Just based on all of the way some areas were unavailable for grants, for instance, and so those areas would not be included.
Okay.
But I'll tell you, as we go around these areas that we're committed or obligated to serve, if those people on the other side of the road are wanting our service, those in Orange County have gotten service. We would like to do the same. We would do the same thing here. Now, I will say the only thing more expensive than building a fiber to the home network is overbuilding an existing fiber to the home network, which sometimes you do have, like in the towns of Huntingburg, Jasper. Some of these areas have very state-of-the-art systems, and those are the types of things that we would potentially shy away from. But in the areas that only have DSL or some sub-service, we would serve those folks as we pass through these other 5,000 homes. So it's hard to say everyone, but I'm confident that anyone that wants it can get it.
I did want to say this too on that point. This is our pole. This is Dubois REC pole lines, and it doesn't have to the home. Okay, this is the main runs. And then, because like Matt explained in our presentation out at the co-op, it just looked like a big yellow blob, going to all 5,000 homes, so this is just the main run, okay? Just to clear that up too.
And during our meeting, I just want to, for comparison purposes, Spencer, we checked with Spencer County, and I think their county put in $5 million to get their county in a similar position. So, for comparison purposes almost, this may be a little different than that, but to try to get this thing moving. That you had mentioned, Matt, the Purdue study, but what we hear, or what I hear, and I'm sure you all hear it and what you read, the quality of life in Dubois County, and the education access for students, which, during the COVID became more, more necessary. Attraction of business and high-tech employment. Every day I hear people working from home, getting jobs and working from home. I mean, this is so we can have people live in our community and be able to work nationwide. Without this, I'm in the same boat Charmaine is. I can't get anything. I gotta come to town to do it, or go to the library, or it's just agriculture. It's important for agriculture. Residential growth, I think. It's we discussed. You can hardly sell your home if you're out in a rural area that doesn't have a internet connection. So I mean, it drives the price of it down. Medical and healthcare with, with the computer getting up, with the doctor, and so I mean, there's so many things here, and that's why I wanted you to come and explain it, because I think hearing it from you, not that, like I say, it's a great deal of money,
Right.
and it's it's half our our funds, technically, so.
And the good thing, Mike, is that a year from now, maybe a year from now, you would have people already receiving the fiber. It was not going to be at the end of 2 years, right, Matt?
Right.
They'd be heating up as we move along.
Yeah. The services we deploy, we have to get about 15,000 feet of main line out in front, and that allows us to splice that section, and folks will be starting to be served off of that. And just one other point, we are Orange County RMC, so we've been serving folks on a not-for-profit basis on the electric side for 85 years. And so an investment in a company like that, I just want, we're going to be here for another 80 years. These co-ops are not going away. We'll always be there. And I know we're just a county away. We do have an office in Jasper now, by the Hucks there on just down from the Snitzel block. I get confused on the road still, but we're going to be here, and we're not going to go anywhere. You're not investing in a company that you have to think about, well, are they going to sell out to someone and be named something else or go away? So I just wanted to point that out.
And I'd like to think that I feel like I can't make this promise, but I hope that we come in on time and under budget if you choose to do it, because I feel like our system is strong. I mean, the infrastructure that we have in place, and a lot of this, like the engineering quotes that PSC has submitted or we've talked about, there's a lot of overhead that was included in those prices that they estimated the cost to be. They weren't estimating Dubois REC doing it with our overhead being fixed. Our timekeepers are, a lot of the fleet is ours. I mean, it's ours. It's not being leased. It's not being rented. I mean, I think a lot of things, hopefully we could come in under that. I can't promise that, but I would, that's my heart's intention is to, if you choose to do it, to try to come in and make it good, everybody a winner, if we can.
And I think another question that came up in the same subject there is, if it's less than 4.35 million, then the county's not going to pay it.
Right.
When we get it back. If it's more than that,
Yeah,
the carriers are going to assume.
we will continue to execute with, beyond the make ready that you would.
Well, this is capped then, you're saying?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, it would have to be. That would be on you and PSC.
That's right, absolutely.
So I guess I'm getting the weeds of it. So let's say you're going down a rock road and it's an older couple that doesn't want it when you're trying to go through. 3 years later, someone else buys it and then also they want it. What's the process that it takes for you guys to get back in there then?
Yeah, they would call us, and since that would be, so as we deploy, the best case scenario is people to take the service when we go by there, because we have all the activity, all the contractors there, but we know there's circumstances that they think it's not the right time. And so in this case, the couple would sell their home, or a new couple would be there, they'd call us. We have our own crews that we would deploy and then go build just that drop into the home. We wouldn't have to redeploy contractors necessarily, depending on the time frame. So, and I will say to everyone that's getting on fiber, it costs them $0 for us to get them service into their home. We have included that all the way into the home as part of the project. That's how and I got told by a lot of people, there's no way you can do that in Orange County. We have done it. We've done it very well. The only reason we're able to move in here so quickly is because of the momentum we built in Orange County. So we can do it, and we are doing it. And it makes implementation much easier for folks, because it's not going to cost them. All they have to do is say yes if they want internet, and we'll bring fiber glass all the way to their router inside their home.
Okay, so help me understand this. Okay, so on this sheet here, I don't know the page number. Okay, so this one here is what you're gonna build, the make ready. So you were saying that these areas here, the green ones, because I didn't see any make readies in any of those areas.
Right.
So explain that to me again. PSC already has those and they're already working on those?
My understanding is from PSC, Matt, you may know more, that I think it's in their service territory that they have provided that already.
Okay.
They're already in Jasper and Ferdinand, and they have businesses here, and they have businesses in Ireland. I think they actually go all the way down to Pike County, Is that right?
That's correct.
Thanks for explaining that. I just want to make sure that it's clear in my mind what areas would be funding.
Yeah, it would be this, it would be, the red is PSC, the yellow is Orange County Fiber. And this is the main pole line, like Infant said, this is not the, to your home. Your home's in here, but not all this.
That makes sense.
So this was, kind of just an informational thing. I wanted the council to understand it, and I thought maybe the public could understand it a little bit better, because I think it is an important thing to get this moving. If we, if we want to move on it, I don't know if it, personally, I don't know if I want to wait 6 or 7 years to get service. That's, I don't know, it just seems like we're going to get further and further behind the rest of the country or the rest of the population if we can't move on here with something. So, so I don't know, anybody got any other questions? It's an opportunity.
I just messaged Erin Houchin, because I know she was really involved in getting underserved and that type of thing, so kind of seeing if we have opportunities for the county to get some grants or something like that as well. That may be another avenue, we don't have to use as much. I mean, $4 million, a lot of money.
Right.
$4.35 million is a lot of money to put towards this, so I was just kind of seeking out maybe state funding for the county specifically that we could get, along with your guys' grants and stuff.
I think Cole mentioned there was like $1 million through an ROI, maybe grant, nothing for sure, but there was
And that's what
a possibility.
I was messaging one of our state reps.
Okay.
Our state senators to see what additional opportunities that she gets back.
Well, I was gonna say this too about the 2 years. I feel like, one thing to consider is we run into this in the business that there's a shortage. You hear about it on TV and it's a real thing in real life. And all your businesses and the businesses you're in, there's shortages here and there and everywhere. We feel like if we did do this in 2 years, I think we kind of came to this, that we would be ahead of a lot of people that are going to take 5 years, 7 years to get their deployment out there. We're going to have an opportunity to go out there and get the equipment bought before, everybody else does. Just for example, we're kind of stocked up on poles a little bit just because of the hurricane hit down south. They had 35,000 poles broke off, I think it was, in one area. So, between the supply and demand shortages from all over the country for steel, aluminum, everything we use, steel, aluminum, copper, zinc, there's a shortage on all of it. Prices are going up. So we were thinking that we're going to get out ahead of that price gouge and by going ahead and doing it now.
And that will be significant. So the last federal grant program that we was awarded money, awarded across the country almost $10 billion of this type of work. So the contractors know that, but there's just so many people that go around. So labor and material. So when we started a year ago, lead time on 144 fiber was about 20 weeks. And right now it's 60 weeks. And we are yet to feel the RDOF wave into the market. There is no doubt that those lead times will get longer. 60 weeks is over a year. So if we would need to order material, say for this project, we'd have to wait a year before even the fiber would arrive. Now we are not in that case. We have relationships with fiber providers, and every bit of fiber that we need to build this project is already on our lot. It is in hand. The material is hand. So, but because we see that wave coming, we have also really worked to have agreements in place so that we get kind of the first on the material.
And that's really important because even if you have the money and you want to stock up right now, you just can't really find it. A lot of things. We're having trouble with meters. We're having trouble with meter bases. We're having different pieces of equipment that it's just hard to find. Did you have a question? I'm sorry.
Well, some of the, I don't know the answer, but some of PSC's red ones are underground fiber that was laid by a company that went bankrupt. How are they going to expand off of those? Are they willing to? Do you know on that? In St. Henry area, there was an Insight gigaband or something that came through. They laid everything and they just pulled out and never terminated anything.
Was it Insight?
You know, this company from, I don't know.
Yeah, we got the bankruptcy notification on them. I can't think of the name of it now.
But we can expand off of what they put in, right?
I don't know what, Jim could not be here because, I mean, I don't know if you even invited him, but he couldn't be here because they're under their rules for as far as COVID, they're in the red, and he wasn't even able to attend our meeting the other day, so that's the reason he's not here, so I really can't answer your question.
Yeah, I don't know if you know or not.
But in our case, depending on what, if that fiber's not serving anyone, we would consider that area unserved, and that would be a case where we would plow our fiber right next to it or hang it right overhead.
But you wouldn't take it over what they did.
We probably wouldn't want to assume that. We would just, in that case, you know, we would just bill over.
I think they got bought.
So go back to your question, Doug. You know, we are looking at those additional grants. I think Commissioner Blessinger, I think you can see.
I'll say one thing that came out recently, came out yesterday and today, they announced it last week, is a, for lack of better terms, I'll call it the last mile connection. So Mike can go home tonight and type in his address and he can get on the list, and every 30, 90 days, one of these guys can bid on connecting to his house. It's a new program that Senator Houchin authored, and that's one of the things that was passed and is in progress now. So there are monies that are towards this, but it's really out of the same pot of money that they've already appropriated. So I think for Dubois County to get any money directly to us isn't going to happen because we're going to be fully served. There's no need for the county or the federal government to give us any more money because he's going to put fiber everywhere that he's agreed to put fiber already, and so is PSC. They're just putting it. So if you were to say, Matt, what are you going to do for the next 6 years? He can give you a plan of things that he has to do in the next 6 years, or he loses those funds. Same way with PSC.
Covered by another.
So everything's getting already. So the things that we're talking about today, they're gonna happen anyway. It's just we will get priority here. I believe that's a fair statement. And maybe Matt's gonna be here. I don't know if you have a plan or if you would tell us. It wouldn't be very good salesmanship. We're gonna be here in January anyway. I hope they give us the money. But they probably have a plan of what they're going to do. This just gets us ahead of the line. To think that we're going to get millions of dollars, I don't think that they would give us money to match the money that they've already given them. Indiana will give us $1 million to match the $1 million that they've already given them, or the 40 million or 11 million, whatever it is. I don't think that'll happen from what I've read on it. But local people are going to have the opportunity to sign up for that. It's brand new as of today. It's the first day I think you could sign up.
I need to talk to you about that one.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can see where the PSC box is.
So the other thing that I want to mention about what they're doing here, and I hadn't thought of this, I think they have 35,000 poles in Dubois County, approximately.
On our system, not in Dubois County.
Oh, in your system, so I don't know, how many do you have in Dubois County? Maybe
Probably
20?
25, yeah.
So there's 20,000 poles here. They're not gonna have to replace all 20,000 poles.
Oh,
They're
no.
gonna do a study, and they're gonna go and say, well, this one worked, will it not work? It might be a pole that they just put in, which is in good shape, but because it won't work for this purpose, they have to pull out a pole and put it in, or maybe a lot of it will work, and they'll see that when they do their pole study. So it's a considerable investment for them. Greg Gilder's a guy that I've worked with privately on things. He's a great servant. I don't know what, for lack of a better term, he's a good worker. He's good with the public. And they had him leading this if we choose to go this way. So I think he's a good person for the job. And the thing that's exciting to me is this idea that Dubois REC starts here and they get down here, and when they get to this certain point, then Orange County's following right behind them, putting it up. So people are going to be getting turned on relatively soon. I mean, 6 months, right?
Yeah.
So if we said okay.
Well, we get a 6-month start. We started out with a year head start, and we're down to 6.
I thought from our last meeting, whatever it is, I think one of you said that if we were to say, yes, we're going to do it today, you could start in November of getting the study going and anyway, it speeds things up considerably, and it gives us a guarantee, I guess, where we don't have a guarantee now. Do I think it's a good investment for $4.3 million? I'm not committing that far yet, but overall, it's It's very exciting. There's some great things to it.
The one thing you mentioned was the timeline. Matt has his timeline.
Mhm.
And I think that we didn't necessarily include that in the PowerPoint because we thought if you're interested, I mean, it's gonna happen in 2 years, but Matt's got his broke down into the timelines that it's gonna happen. PSCs, they were waiting on their engineering company to lay that out. We can get that for you too, as soon as we get it, if that helps you.
Yeah, I can show you, within a month or 2 months on where we plan to be and how we plan to execute all of the 400 to 500 miles of fiber.
I think that'd be most interesting. I think, anybody who's watching this or when that goes in the Herald, well, you see us getting calls right now. When's it coming to my house?
I can get you,
I know we're way ahead of the game here, but that's good.
I don't have all your contact information, but I could have you that slide tonight if you like.
So explain to me, you said your priority is getting up to Crane through Martin County. So how does that impact, if we go ahead and do the make-readies, how does that impact your timetable then? I mean, are you just having multiple crews everywhere?
Most likely that would be delayed. The build to Crane would be delayed. So quite frankly, the town of Mitchell we've met with them a lot in Lawrence County. So there's just it's a management of priorities. The decision to commit to say, yeah, we can do this in 24 months. I won't say it was a hard decision. I'm saying there was a lot of things to consider just to say, yes, I can confidently say we build that in 24 months. You just can't make that kind of stuff up. And so Crane, it is absolutely a priority. Those folks in Martin County that are identified that we will serve are a priority. I'm just, at this point in time, we've committed that if this works, the priority will be Dubois County.
And what we've been doing is preparing ourselves as well. There's a lot of maintenance work that we would do next year and in the next 18 months, because really, if it's gonna take Matt 2 years, we gotta be done in 20 months. And so we're going ahead. I mean, it's not gonna hurt us to get out ahead of the game, and that's what we're trying to do. If you choose to prepare this, that's the reason we're gonna be able to go in November versus January, February next year.
And I'll give you one more thing, why it's not my meeting, but since I was in the original meeting, I thought I might have a little insight. The other thing that I thought was interesting, that whenever I believe our first meeting with these folks, I think a lot of what they were sharing, or maybe what I heard and I was incorrect, was that this was going to be line of sight, higher speed than what they're getting now, but it was going to be a lot of line of sight things, and that's not nearly as exciting as fiber to your house. And what he's proposing, at least for the Orange County side, is fiber underground, a real fiber to your house, so you don't have to worry about the rain. It's just going to be a more reliable. It's the best product available for the masses at this time.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
That is correct. We're obligated to serve more wirelessly than with fiber. That's another thing I just had to mention, but we're going to do all this in fiber. So
Everything we'll be doing will be fiber.
Even the BSC part, is it going to be fiber to the home?
Yes.
I didn't remember that part.
Yeah, well, everything.
So that's a big difference to me.
So what are next steps? I mean, we're just talking about this now? I mean, help me understand.
Yeah, we'll
what
start
we are.
talking
Just money, right?
I think the timeline's on you guys, because we just recently moved Greg to projects, not because of this, but because of just everything we've got going. We got a new sub going in at Honeyberg. We got some big projects coming up, but we'll have to finish the Honeyberg sub, but we're gonna be pulling projects back if you go with this. But we're in pretty good shape. I think we're ready to go if you choose. So I don't know about Matt's timeline. I think we gave a month. We needed about a month to get things.
I think the reason I wanted to bring it to the council, I mean, the timing, one thing, 30 days is gonna burn here. We don't, and it was an opportunity. They both were open. And I think we get public input, to some extent. So, I think it's good that I appreciate that taking the time to do this.
I think the timeline, Mike, from PSC will be important with what Matt's got too there. Not the timeline, but the periodic areas that will be lit up and when they will be.
So Matt, the people that you employ for this, are they local people? I mean,
not that it really matters.
But is it all
Yes.
Orange County, possibly Dubois County before? Or
Absolutely, yes, 100%. We're doing budgeting right now, and I had the CFO pull our payroll numbers from 2016 compared to 2021. And our payroll has doubled in that amount of time. And we've hired 26, 27 people, all from Orange, Dubois, all from this region. We have 11 positions to fill right now. All those folks are gonna be coming from, four of these folks will be looking for Dubois County folks so that they can run the Jasper office manager, installers, things like that. So that is another one of those things about us being here. We're gonna be here, and we're also gonna employ the people that live here.
And for us, we'll be using our people and the Electricom, which, they have electric linemen from this area and Orange. Well, from several counties, but a lot of them are from Dubois.
I feel like it's important.
I do
Because
too.
we wanna,
Feed everybody, yeah.
right.
I will say one more thing to answer your question, I think a little more fully. You asked what would be the next steps. The next steps, as far as I'm concerned, we're having a meeting of the ARP committee on Friday. I'm gonna catch them up with all the requests that have come in, the amount of money, the situation with the help grant, or help program that we're gonna be talking about here in a little bit. So next Monday, I'll then present all that to the other two commissioners, again, whatever they don't know. And at some point, we'll have to make a decision on where we want to prioritize our spending. So out of that 8.3 million, if we get selected for the ARP, or the help program, I'm sorry, then we would be committing 2.5 million to that. What that means is we will develop over the course of a year a strategic investment plan to spend that $2.5 million on a project, on multiple projects, whatever we want. So that would leave, say, 5.5 million in the ARP remaining funds, and we could, I guess, in theory, the commissioners next Monday could say, wow, we've heard from so many people locally, they all want this internet thing, let's approve that and move forward. I mean, so we could, next Monday, we could approve those funds, I guess, and move forward if that was something. I don't think it would be that.
Would these funds be something that could be involved in that help program or whatever, that we can get that, I guess, if we apply for it, get the $1 million match from the state?
We could, but then we can't spend that money till the strategic investment plan is done, and that plan won't be done for a year. So then that makes I think the exciting thing with these folks is if we are going to invest in this, if we choose to do that, it's better to do it today than tomorrow or any day in the future, because we're getting a day or two further behind. Does that make sense? But yeah, so ideally, the help program would be for some of those other projects that we have in the hopper, so to speak. Helping Patoka Water, St. Anthony Water, the wastewater from Hayesville, or the regional wastewater system. So it'd be available, this one would be available for some of those other things. The thing that concerns me when I was at the meeting with these guys, and ever since I started talking about broadband, was Commissioner Hofstadter is going to say, is that more important than wastewater coming from someplace down to Jasper, or sewage going into the backyard of somebody's house? And I think that's a fair argument. I mean, that's definitely something to consider. We have to prioritize. What's more important to our community? What's more important to us as county leaders? Or do we say, why don't we do both, and we invest in this broadband for half of that money, and we put the rest of the money back for wastewater? Those are just decisions that have to be made that we think is most important. I think it's great that the council president brought these gentlemen here so that you can give your input, and the community can too, on what those priorities are. So if I got an email from 6 of you tonight saying that was the worst idea ever, don't bring these guys back here, whatever it is, then that would tell me something. Or if you said these guys are or if they're the most brilliant people ever, this is a wonderful plan, that's going to mean something to us and to the committee, I think, as we make decisions going forward. Or we may just cut it in half and just take it to Brettsville all the way. So this is significant. This was $4 million divided by 5,000 homes. That's $800 a home. But that also prepares us for every home in the future that will be developed anywhere in the community. Now it gets to connect at no cost. So I mean, it's a long-term commitment. And these funds, I think, for this ARP are supposed to be for big projects, big changes that are gonna make your county more resilient. So it sounds like it wouldn't be unreasonable to consider putting the funds here, in my opinion.
Did Nick have an amount for the regional sewer?
There is a preliminary draft of a sewer draft, and I would have to get it. I can probably pull it and let you look at it. The numbers are astronomical. If you wanted to get sewer to everyone in the whole community, the whole county, it's pretty astronomical. It's expensive to move fluids and things. Everything is expensive. I'm trying to say it in a nice way.
And things.
Wastewater. What is wastewater? It's expensive to move it and process it.
That's a public health situation, and I can just say, as I've gone around the county, talked to lots of different people, that is the number one thing I've heard. The eastern half of the county, we need internet, broadband, we need internet. Everywhere I went, especially the northeast corner, that was the worst.
So any other questions? Like I said, I really appreciate you coming tonight.
Thank you for
Taking
the
the time.
appreciate it
It's-
very much.
I mean,
Appreciate
it's
it.
gonna help us, educated us and help us be aware of what's going on, what we have to do, so.
Thank you for hearing.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Have a good night.
Thank
Very
you.
much.
So as far as the schedule here, the agenda, I kind of jumped the gun here, but, and I don't know, I hope I didn't disrupt the public there a little bit because, because they can still see it, that I didn't jump order here because. But anyway, the next on the agenda is the resolution number 2021-32, Hoosier Endurance Legacy, the HELP grant. And Lisa, I've got it here, and I think I sent it to all the council members. So Lisa, are you gonna?
I'm just here to answer any questions, but I can give you a background of the Hoosiers Enduring Legacy Program, or known as HELP.
Could you introduce yourself?
I'm Lisa Gelhausen, and I'm the Executive Director of the Indiana 15 Regional Planning Commission. But the HELP program was rolled out from the Indiana Office of Community and Rural Affairs. And it's a new program. The application is due October 1st, 3 or 4 days from now. So we got a short timeline. But the commissioners met on the 20th of this month. They approved their resolution. City of Jasper met on the 22nd, Wednesday. They approved a resolution. And we're here before the council to determine your interest in the program. But what it is an application to Okra, and there's a core advisory team of about 5 to 7 people. And we've got a draft letter to Okra saying that core advisory team would be the Dubois County Commissioner President, the Dubois County Council President, a Dubois County Council member, the county auditor, the mayor, a city council member, and the clerk treasurer. That's 7 people that are on a core advisory team. And also includes hiring a community coordinator, and the county would put in $20,000 towards that effort. And Okra would put in $20,000 to hire somebody to lead this effort. It's a 52-week strategic investment plan on spending the ARP money. And there's 4 pathways that they'd like to see you go down, and that is e-connectivity, community wellness, quality of place, and strengthening local economy. And Okra is gonna pick 12 communities throughout Indiana, and they'll also provide $1 million to those 12 that are chosen. So they also want the county and any partnering community to contribute 30% of their ARPA money. So if you guys get 8.3 million, $2.5 million would be your contribution to this HELP that figures out how to spend that 2.5 million, Jasper's getting 3.5 million, so they would put in over $1 million of their money. And then this $1 million from Okra. So there'd be about 2.5, 4.5, another one, about $4.5 million through this strategic investment plan on what is the best way down those pathways should this money be spent. And these committees, the committees are maybe 6 to 8 people down those 4 pathways that I mentioned. And they get together over this 52-week period and plan on what are the priorities and is it truly an ARPA eligible expense? Now the $1 million that's coming from Okra is called Community Development Block Grants. So that $1 million, your ARPA money follows the ARPA rules, and then you've got this $1 million coming, it follows Community Development Block Grants. And those are for low and moderate income persons. So 51% of whatever projects may come up need to fit that criteria. Or it could be for blighted infrastructure. So if, let's say it was a sewer project, we need to use that money in a low and moderate income area. If you spend that $1 million, now your ARPA money doesn't have that low and moderate income requirement. So I just want to explain to you that there are, that's where the sources are coming from. But the way the program, I think there isn't a date that they've given us. They'll make the announcements, but it's pretty quick. I think you'll probably know in about 30 days whether you'll be chosen as one of the 12 communities so that you can get.
Okay, when does ARPA have to be expended?
Same as your ARPA, you have to have it
You have
under
it
obligation by 2024.
24, spent by 26.
Spent by 26.
Okay, because I'm like, this can't take too long, if you have to spend a whole year coming up with your strategic.
And we don't
investment
have
plan.
to, if we don't use that whole year, it's okay, but it is a 52-week program. If we feel like we can condense it in some fashion, we can.
It just sounds to me like there's a few projects that are kind of rising to the top already, that even if we don't, we get awarded this grant, that, they're already kind of going down those 4 pathways anyway,
So that's, there is engagement by the public. I don't think I have anything else if there's any other questions.
Explain to me, you said that we're putting in an application and the city of Jasper is putting in an
It's
application?
a joint application.
Okay.
So it's one application that the county is the lead applicant, and then the city is considered a co-applicant or a partner to bring the 2 units together to work on
That'll give
projects.
us more points.
It does help the partnership.
Both communities get $1 million then?
No,
It would just be the one,
Yeah.
all of
just
Dubois
1 million
County.
for both, yeah. That's a good question.
So even though we're partnering, is the county still gonna pay the 20,000, the city wouldn't pay the other, or they wouldn't pay a portion of that?
No, it's a county, it's considered a
Because we're
county
lead?
expenditure.
If we're the lead,
So-
Just asking them
They might have an office over there.
Yeah, right. Let us
use
the office.
Yeah, maybe that's the trade-off, yeah.
And, this commitment of this community coordinator is for a year. Now, Okra would like to see for you to continue that into 2 and 3 and 4 years until your ARPA money's spent, because they're supposed to really learn what can and cannot be used for ARPA and guide you through not only the plan, but your expending of the money. So they would like to see you do, it's not required, but it, maybe this person is really exceptional and becomes a, somebody maybe in the auditor's office or somewhere that really contributes and in many ways, maybe after this is all done.
I know I saw it, I like to have the job description. I think I would like for us to expand that job description a little bit, because I think they're asking for 30 hours a week. What if we made it 35? And,
Now, they
that's my
could,
opinion.
they could work 40 hours a week, but they have to dedicate 30 hours to this program. So they can spend 10 hours doing something else.
For the first year, right?
Yes.
For the first year. Could you, Lisa, can you explain that HUD, how we can spend that HUD money? That's one of my concerns.
The HUD dollars, you have to meet a national objective. And the national objective is a benefit to low and moderate income, eliminating blight, or urgent need. Now, urgent need, we haven't had an urgent need project, one in decades. But, so you're gonna either meet low and moderate income benefit. So what we'd have, like, let's say this, let's just use the sewer for an example. We would have to do an income survey of the area that you'd wanna go into. And HUD gives us this table that if you have 5 people living in your household, do you make above or below this amount? If you make below that amount, then you're part of that 51%. So it's a survey that's really easy. Above or amount, we don't ask you to go pull your, all your documentation and exactly write in a number. And then, so the income survey would have to be done. Or eliminating blight, if you had 2 pieces of infrastructure, let's imagine the downtown square and you have stormwater that's bad and you have water that's bad. And that's blight because you have 2 pieces of blighted infrastructure. And that, that could be something. The broadband, it probably wouldn't fit with the HUD dollars because you're gonna go along the road and run that broadband. You're not gonna determine who is low and moderate income along that roadway. So, but you can spend let's say that comes out of one of the 4 pathways, it doesn't mean you still can't spend your ARPA money in this program on that, but you can't spend the $1 million of HUD dollars on it.
So that's the CDBG money, that's HUD money.
Yes,
Okay.
community development block grant HUD dollars.
So that's where the HUD discussion comes in. Like, are we going after HUD dollars, but it's the block grant?
That's where Okra's getting their $1 million to put into this health program for the 12 communities. It's HUD dollars. Did that help?
Yes, thanks. Yeah. So in other words, the $1 million, we could spend that on a separate project. And that doesn't tie our ARPA money down in any way, shape, or form, that has to be interconnected in any way.
You're right, Karen, on the street.
Sounds like it's more restrictive from the ARPA money.
I mean, that was my
It is.
my
It's a lot
concern.
more restrictive.
But the sewer project probably would, or.
Yeah, and I don't know, I don't want to take it from a project standpoint because we don't know what that plan is going to come up with. So we have, what is that, and then what can the ARPA money be used for, and then what can the community development block grant HUD dollars be used for?
And that's all the stuff that the person we hire will be training and learning all those requirements.
In Indiana 15, we have 4 certified grant administrators, and 2 of them are about ready to be certified any day. And then, so we'll have 6 of us that are certified with community development block grants. And that $1 million, we would help you oversee that. And we would like the $50,000 to do that out of that $1 million. But you'd have to go through procurement even for us, or, we would like to procure for those, be a part of an open procurement to administer that $1 million on your behalf.
So any other questions of Lisa? Okay, so I really appreciate you taking the time to do that, because it's,
It's a
yeah, I
new
think-
program,
It's
yeah.
a lot of help. I mean, all the okra, like,
Between the
I know.
help and
Yeah.
ready, your brain
It
has
is.
to be fried by now.
There's rules and there's regulations.
But I think it's good to help plan on, like listening to the public input, how the spending the ARPA money. Just like what you heard earlier tonight.
Mhm.
I mean, trying to condense a 7-year into 2, that's impressive.
Yeah.
So when you mentioned that we had, part of it was getting a 7-person committee, I think Chad already said a group of people already meeting. Do we already have that kind of, maybe not the exact
We-
people, but do we have a committee?
We at the
kind
county
of in
have an
place?
ARPA committee.
So we
We've
would
been
have to
meeting, Amy and
make
I sit
a
on it.
committee with the city of Jasper and
It's
that to,
it's part of your ARPA committee, I would think.
okay.
And,
So we already kind of got
this
that.
5 to 7 people, but the pathway committees have not been chosen. So we would look to do some kind of community forum or a public meeting and saying, okay, who's interested in community wellness or e-connectivity or economic,
That's what was
Some
worth
sort
the
of
grant.
economic development.
yes, if you're awarded. And I would think you'll know in about 30 days.
So that's a
And if you don't get chosen, I mean, you may adopt this resolution,
We have to approve it.
but this resolution is, if you're not chosen, your ARPA money just stays where it is. But if you're chosen, then, you'd be dedicating 30% of that to this program.
Okay, and
So we're really only risking $20,000 to possibly get $1 million if we're getting the grant, through the grant. And it seems like we already have a plan to kind of, that already includes these 4 different strands or whatever. So,
Not pathways,
pathways, yeah.
yes.
So,
Okay, so, I mean, the city of Jasper did sign on, Commissioner Blessinger told me earlier here that they did
Yes.
sign the letter, so really, this, our resolution, number 32 here, is, what we need yet to fulfill the application.
Correct.
So, I don't know, is there any discussion on this resolution? We have to sign, I guess we have to sign this tonight if we're gonna get it in time, so.
I mean, I like that, we're not really obligating ourselves to anything unless we are awarded the grant.
Right, that's a good.
except for the 20,000, but yeah.
Well, no, I mean,
And you would do that afterwards.
Oh, after.
right, yeah, we're not obligating to anything unless we are awarded.
See,
I'm sorry.
I misunderstood that. I thought we had to create that before they did the process.
So if we're not selected, we're not obligated.
That changes everything. I was misunderstanding that totally. Sorry.
It's fine, I mean, it's
It's good to,
I mean,
it's a complicated.
and I even went to the website and kind of read through it. And I'm like, missed that part.
So if there's no other discussion there, I'll entertain a motion to, do I need to read this, or everyone has this, it's kind of a involved thing, it's kind of saying what Lisa more or less said here. So, the 20,000, and we're committing 2,490,290 toward this. And if we aren't selected, this doesn't really mean anything. So I'll look for a motion to approve this resolution number 2021-32.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
I'll second.
Becky seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. So we'll get it signed here tonight.
So submitted, Lisa.
I'll wait
Move
for it.
forward.
actually, almost got it done.
Good.
I had to.
Right, I mean, you
absolutely.
wrote it down, didn't you? What if you fall ill in the next 2 days?
Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa.
Lisa,
I'll wait for that, because I need to.
Yeah.
Right.
Then I'll have to give you a copy, I need that.
I told her how proud I am.
You can't take the original. I'll give you a copy.
Okay, so
I can chat on copies over
great.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot. Have time for me to share another program with you?
Sure, there's another one. How much money are we talking for this?
It is called, it's through the Economic Development Administration, it's called Build Back Better. And it is a federal program, and there's two phases. Phase one is 500,000, and what we're looking at is a innovation supercluster. Everything innovation touches advanced manufacturing or agriculture or energy. But in this region, it's 40 counties. It's basically the west side of Indiana. Goes all the way almost north to south. But it's Indiana 15's Regional Planning Commission, Southern Indiana Development based in Lagodi, Thrive based in Terre Haute, Kankakee Iroquois based in Lafayette, and Hoosier Heartland in east of there, just north of Indy, and then EREP, which is in Evansville. So it's like 40 counties of us trying to all work together to do this plan. It's called the Innovation Supercluster, and it's studying our clusters. You know, right now we know we're heavy in wood and manufacturing and forest products. We know we're heavy in agriculture, but how do we bring innovation to those superclusters? And so Indiana 15 would like to very much be a part of this challenge. And part of it is to address the areas that have been hardest hit by the downturn of the coal and energy sector. And this map here, we are in the top 25 areas in the nation. And we're actually number 14, this Illinois basin, where we're getting hit really hard by the downturn of the coal and energy sector. And that's part of what they're trying to support. But if we get phase one, there's no match for phase one. And the 40 counties of us are applying to try to get 500,000 to study how innovation will help out all of these subclusters. Then if we're chosen for if we do meet phase one, we develop the plan, and then we can get anywhere from 25 million to 100 million in projects. We're looking at 3 to 8 projects in these 40 counties that are going to make a difference. It could be, we don't know what they're going to be yet. I can't even venture what they're going to be yet, but it's really studying our clusters. We know that, you know, the defense cluster is north of us. We know that we have biomedical in Evansville and Terre Haute, and we have a lot of ag in our area and all the way up to Purdue. And so it's all of us working together. This is due at the end of October. So I want to make you aware of it. We would like to at least get to phase one, see if we can do this plan. And if we're chosen, there could be 3, it says 3 to 8 projects, whatever those might be. But those 3 to 8 projects are going to be funded with 80% grant funds, whatever those are.
Awesome. That's really awesome. No wonder you want to be a part of this.
So I'm, you know, Dubois County is part of Region 15. We'd like to move through applying, hopefully get phase one, do our plan, And what are, maybe there's a next super cluster. We also know that automotive is very heavy in Perry County, and we know what Toyota's done for our area, and what is their growth path? What's their next growth? We don't know. There's some really overarching questions for the future. So, Build Back Better is the name of the program. So if you see information about that, you're going to be hearing more about it.
So even with the first phase of getting the plan, we wouldn't get the second phase of plan, can still be very helpful.
Yes. There's time involved, but no match requirements.
Because we talk a lot about our heavy base of wood.
How do we keep advanced manufacturing in the Midwest? I mean, is it moving to more automation and training our workforce? Or, what is it? We need to study that. Let's Build Back Better.
Thanks for briefing us on that.
Yeah, well, good luck.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
Well, they don't give you much time to get these applications together, do they?
They're just that good over there. So, you guys are on top of it. Thanks again.
Thank you.
I'm just gonna send this electronically to me tonight, and I'll forward it to you, but I made copies while I was in there.
Okay. That's the timetable.
He just said he'd send that to me electronically, but he wanted me to have a copy, and so I thought, well, I'd make it while you're out here.
I think it's the timetable of what, what they would do these papers and hold. I was concerned about if somebody doesn't, that says, well, I can count on my construction, I can count on my internet there being, in June of 2023 or 2022, then if that don't happen, then you got somebody upset, because things happen in construction. And, but, he feels pretty confident in that, does what he's wanting to do there. This is Orange County. PSC has got their own time. I think they got their own timetable. We'll wait for Charmaine to return, and then we'll go into additional appropriations for both side and June 1 and the dollars. Okay, on the additional appropriations, and I think we got the first one here I had is COVID-19 test site grant.
As you may remember, last month, Sean brought this to you because he got a grant to get that test site going, and we declared it an emergency to start using the funding. We haven't received the funding yet, but they do have the test site up and running, and so I have three different amounts. The Blue Ridge service is $280,000, and then other operation $20,304, and the rent for that site is $8,400. So I have three different.
So the only question I had on it is, so the probably should have asked, but anyway, the Blue Ridge Services, that's a company that runs this.
It runs the test site.
So and they kind of, with this grant, they charge the county then?
Right.
Okay.
They send us, claims once a month and then we pay them for their services. We have a contract with them.
How long is this?
Till next June 30th.
Really?
We're gonna have this open that long, huh?
Wow.
Now, we are using the Rookser Golf Course, so hopefully they don't sell it, because if they do, then we'd have to find another home, but right now we pay the rent every month to Jasper City.
Okay, so is there any, I guess we'll start off with the Blue Ridge Services, the operations of the test site, $280,000. Have any questions? If not, I'll accept the motion or request a motion.
I'll move we approve the $280,000.
Okay, we got a motion to accept. Have a second.
I'll second.
Becky seconded, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, so that carries.
And the next is the other operation expenses,
Okay,
$20,304.
okay, let's look for a motion to accept that.
I'll make that motion, Mike.
So we got first, we have a second.
I'll second.
Sonia seconded, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, so that carries. And then the rent of $8,400. So I have a motion to accept that, or approve that rent.
And Sandy, is that rent till the end of June?
We pay monthly. We pay monthly, it's, I think it's $700 a month. And it'll go until,
So it will be till the end of
Pretty inexpensive rent, isn't it?
for the entire period till June.
well, we pay, I mean, we're on a month-to-month rate, you know, like if, say they sell the building,
Then we have.
then we have to find somewhere else, we haven't paid
But
the entire.
that would cover if we stay there the whole
What they say. That's Sean's baby, not mine.
So I'll make a motion that we approve that $8,400 for rent.
I'll second that.
So all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, so that carries unanimously. And then, the next one is personal services, general fund.
In the general fund, I have a few different, the first is being health insurance. We're about 300,000, I estimate we're about 300,000 short for the end of the year. So, I think I did this again last year. This year in the budget, we've upped it, so hopefully we'll have that covered.
Any questions on that, Commissioner's health insurance? I'll question a motion to accept that. 300,000.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Becky, any second?
I'll second.
Charmaine seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
The next one is for sanitation program. And the next two go actually hand in hand. Our pre-employment drug screen and the sanitation, they're short about $200.
Okay, so that's,
That'd be the, and then HR drug screening for pre-employment, he's estimating we're short about $1,500 for the rest of the year. We're doing that many drug screens.
so those are two individual.
They're two individuals, but they kind of go hand in hand.
Okay, so-
Highway pays for their own drug screens. The HR pays for everybody else's.
So this is sanitation, drug screen, and physicals for $200. Question, motion to approve that. Doug, it's made a motion. I have a second.
I'll second.
Okay, Sonia seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So that motion carries. And then human resources drug screening is $1,500. So, any questions on that? Otherwise, I'll look for a motion to approve that.
I'll make that motion.
Greg made a motion. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Doug, okay, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So that carries. Okay, the next one was
St. Charles Annex is the health department, 911, that building. We pay, WIC pays rent, and it all goes into this fund, and that fund is only used to maintenance and maintain that building for repair and maintenance. So Scott was asking for $5,000 to be approved so he can use it for that building.
Is there something special going on?
I don't have that off the top of my head, sorry. I should have asked him today.
And has WIC been in there through COVID or?
No, but they've been paying their rent.
Oh, okay.
They paid their rent, so.
All right, I'll make a motion here to accept that, or approve that repair and maintenance at $5,000.
I'll second.
Seconded, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So that carries unanimously.
I believe I have it written down, but I don't know if I do.
Did you have, is that all the?
That's all the additionals that I have.
Thanks. Okay, the next thing I want to discuss is, on the agenda here is the employee salary adjustment process. You know, I sent you the minutes of that meeting, or the discussion we had, I guess, with Charmaine and Craig and I and Marky. And, you know, we kind of went through these, you know, the strong points of the program. And I'm just going to hit on here again because you know, everybody's memory is gone, but, you know, it engaged each member of the council. It was a process that required each member to review and justify each request. And it forced all involved to review the job descriptions to determine if additional duties were indeed being added to the individual's responsibilities. It required review of the wage ranges to see that the employee exceeded designated range. And the breakout session with the 3 council members and the HR department gave the members an opportunity to openly discuss each request. So does anybody have any other suggestions on the strong points of the program? Hearing none, we'll move
I
on.
was gonna say, I already gave you mine, you would be.
Okay, well, I mean, the other people that weren't involved, so, weak points of the program, the time commitment required for all parties involved in the process. Was the program taken seriously, or were some of the requests ludicrous? Difficulty to justify wage increases, expectations of employees, changes and improvements, and the employee is initiating the salary requests. That's the week, you know, this, in other words, the employee can ask for the raise, or, you know, for the salary increase. So what about other weaknesses? Anybody got any suggestions there?
I want to comment more on that, I guess, because I think it's probably good for the employee because it takes a little bit of the pressure off of the department head by doing that. But then also, I'm not sure if that's a good thing either, because if the department head, to our point, we discussed if we wanted to, if we would give Amy a set amounts and say, okay, now you pay your people appropriately as to who you think is deserving. And this is not a cut to you. This is, I think it's everybody across the board. She would like to divide it up evenly and keep it simple. So I'm torn both ways. If our department heads won't do what we're asking, or what we intended for it to be, now we're allowing the employee to do it, but then we've created that divide amongst the group, is what I feel we've done too. And I'm not sure if that's good or not. That'd be more probably for our department head to ask, or for them to answer, I should say. So that's a little bit of a struggle I deal with.
So you're torn between the employee having the opportunity versus the department head recommending.
Correct.
Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying. I guess I should have said that, and that sounded a little simple.
Well,
Well, you're feeling that the employee's taking on some of the role that the department head
Yeah.
should already be covering, is there?
But I think to myself, granted, I've never been a department head, but if I was, I would likely do the same thing that they're all would be at that. Honestly, probably would. You try to keep harmony, you try to keep it kosher, you don't wanna create any, especially if it's you and two others or three, well, we want harmony, and so we can't have where, hey, she's getting more than me, and then I'm upset, and it's just,
But is it fair to an employee who is, just say they're all being paid equal, but is it fair to tell an employee, no, you can't ask for more, even though they may know they are going above and beyond other employees? Like,
right.
You can just
you know what I mean?
different
Like,
job
if they can justify it, is it fair to
requirements.
say, sorry, you can't ask for more? I don't know.
I don't
It,
know.
but yeah, it's
It's a slippery slope,
yeah,
I think, right
it
there.
is.
It has created hard feelings, because I've heard from many people.
And what were those hard feelings? I mean, because they jumped ahead or they're not doing, you know.
Because there's some employees doing the work of the person who's being raised this great percentage and going, she doesn't do her work now, and hands it out to them. Created a lot of hard feelings. But see, that's where we have to depend on the department head. And if that goes back to some of the things we saw in employees' satisfaction survey, we're gonna keep running into that. So we still have limited knowledge. We still only have what these people are giving us. So if it's somebody going, yeah, great, you know, I like them better than I like you. So, you know, we're not gonna ever get away from that, I don't think, unless it's built into how we do it.
And, you know, that's on the weak points, the difficulty in justifying wage increase. I mean, because we sit here, you know, we don't work with a person every day. It's tough, you know, and we have to depend on the department head. So, I mean, that's a real weakness of the program, I think. You know, unless we can somehow, you know, and I think that's, you know, like I guess the highway department kind of does, you know, they have an evaluation program, or, you know, they evaluate. But, you know, I guess, you know, in these, you know, when I brought it along tonight, it seemed like, you know, like, say for the extension, you know, they check through, you know, do they do this, do they do that? You know, I don't know if you guys remember those, I'm not gonna pull one out. But, you know, it's just, if you don't really, I don't know how to best do that, you know, if they're tardy or not on time for work, you know, maybe that should be a note slipped in their employment file and mark, you know, you know, or, I don't know the best way to do with that. And that's why we're here, but let's move on here. How can the improvements be made on the program? Salary, you know, first of all, the salary requests need to be set at a specific percent.
Yeah, one of the things that Marky, he reached out to some other counties to see what they did. And some of the other counties, they had a set percent that they could request. Was it a 0.5%? Was it 1%? Was it 1.5%? You know, like, so it almost sounded to me like they had like a checkbox. You know, which one were they?
So they couldn't request 35%?
Well, maybe it's upper limit.
It
Said
all
maybe
depends
if that
on-
was their upper limit.
Yeah, it depends on what we said as a if we would choose to do something like that. You know, he just kind of pulled in some other things that other counties were doing.
Right, and I brought those along too, but they really don't accept what you just said, and that's about what their ordinance says, you know, or their resolution says. Because I didn't send them out, because it's something, I think Marky wants to do a little more, I'll pass it this way, then maybe you guys bring it down. The other way it's starting. I think this was the other one that he had come up with, and I think you said.
Yeah.
But when you're looking at those, let's move on then. The salary request needs to be completed on the form provided with all information. Performance assessment and justification for the requested salary increase. So there, I think the committee we had was kind of discussed it, because some of them, they didn't use the form, they didn't fill out the percentage, they didn't, and then we had to kind of fish through them to figure out what they were actually asking for. So, I think in the future, if it's not on that form, then it gets thrown up, So that's kind of what we thought, or that's what Marky thought too. The request needs to be submitted in a specific time frame. I think our thoughts were, a couple of them came in late, and then they were still being able to be included. Incomplete forms and forms submitted after designated date, kind of repeat here, will not be eligible. Pharma process, whereas an employee can ask for a raise. That's what we were discussing earlier, because they're a formal process, we really don't have that. They have to go through technically the department head to get this signed. The department head needs to set up an evaluation process, which I think we all put emphasis on that. Somehow if we can find a countywide, and this maybe we can task Marky with continuing. I think he's working on it. He's got I think he's working on this process, or he's thinking about it. The salary increase process needs to be initiated by the department head. We're kind of repeating this, and if an employee submitted a request for a salary increase in the current year, approved or not, they cannot file a request in the following year. So
I think, wasn't Marky talking about, like including if it was, the next year, 2 years, or how often a particular person could ask for an increase?
Right, it's just 1 year. Some people may just every other year, just keep
But I
putting in
think that
until
has
they
to
get rid through.
The background from the department head of showing on the evaluation they had with them that, that they prove that it's been talked about and whatever.
The reason why it's been either, approved or not.
I kind of think the same way. I think until we can get some kind of a process in place, I don't know if we should continue this. That's kind of my opinion. Because we burned a lot of time on that, and we made more, we stirred up people, then I don't know if we accomplished what we wanted to do.
Yeah.
My opinion probably doesn't mean anything, but I would hope with the salary redirection, the salary things you guys did, the HR studies you did, the wage studies you did, I would hope there's not somebody out there who's still too low. So I would hope people should be close to where they should be.
Yeah,
I know,
all the
that's
time.
the thought I keep getting, I'm like,
That's where I'm at, 'cause unless somebody slipped through the cracks, but we found
We
one
did
with
have
this
one.
sheriff,
Yeah.
what's her name? Kenyon. We felt like she's really slipped through.
But that was kind of a new position.
right, and
That
Right.
that wasn't here when you first started.
well, there was that, plus, I think the new sheriff really changed her job description. I
Yes.
think you really.
Which those things can happen.
Right, I think you really added to her job description as opposed to what she
But that
originally
also
started.
changed her category too, or should have.
I don't think it did, she's in the same category, it's just that she had a
Oh,
lot
it's
more
just,
job
that's
description.
right.
Yeah. She'd have way more duties.
Yeah, and the duties that
But-
were added were,
But with that exception, you shouldn't have too many out there that are still.
right, there was that and then the corner
Yes.
employees, those were just not pathetic.
So
We just didn't
I'll
know.
ask
We
you,
don't
I
know.
guess we can ask Amy the same thing. Do you see an evaluation process valuable to us and to the county?
To a point I do, yes.
Because it seems like without that, there's no real way of tracking the performance of a person.
Now, do I think, it's really, I don't know what you think, but it's really hard for me to have these people come up with goals every year. They got the same job. I will transfer 80 deeds. that's their job every day. It's still, I mean,
I think it's valuable to talk about performance evaluation, just as a normal conversation. Do I think there should be a formal process where everybody sits down and fills out the form, and we sit down and have a formal meeting, and we keep records of it through HR? I feel like to that person, based on that information, I don't know if it's worth the full process. I think that it's the responsibility of the department head to already be having those conversations about the performance that's happening. And their pay that they're already receiving is not going to be affected. I mean, it's the pay is dictated by the county's budget. Every year, everybody gets a cost of living increase or a pay increase. If you're not doing your job, the department head should be talking about that. If you are doing your job, you're earning the paycheck that the two parties have agreed upon.
and that's kind of what I mean by it's hard to come up with new goals because they're already meeting their goals by doing their job.
But some sort of documentation process by the department head should be done if there's any issues, or if they're going above and beyond, or something like that, to kind of justify when they do request pay increase or something like that. Then there's already something written down where they can refer back, oh, well, you did not do this, or you've been late, or whatever, or didn't do these duties, or sloughed them off on somebody else to have them done. No, that's my justification on not, or yes, it's my justification on passing it through to HR. And then we will see like those notes or whatever, hopefully, and that'll help us better determine. You know, so I do think there should be some sort of documentation process. Maybe not formal or the goal setting or whatever, but something that, you know, would help later on.
So you know, if a person or an employee isn't performing, let's say, or you know, it's tough to get rid of anybody. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? It's tough. So you have to document the underperformance, I think, and then maybe the way of, you know, if the raise, you know, if we decide to continue these raises, or you know, then they may not, maybe they shouldn't get that raise. You know, then you know, I don't know. I mean, if there's not a.
Well, but that already stands. You gave the 3%. We don't have to give the 3%. We can go less if we see somebody underperforming.
Okay.
That's already in the ordinance. You do not have to give them the max.
So is it being reported anywhere, like if someone is underperforming? Because, I mean, if
Right.
there would be an issue down the road.
I can only speak for me. If I have
does
issues, I make notations and I have a file.
Yeah.
Does it hit back here? Maybe not.
Right, but as long as there's some sort of documentation, if there is an issue with someone, like, I would think that's what all department heads are hopefully doing.
That's you know, that's what she was.
But is that what you're saying? There should be
Yeah,
something more
there's some
formal
sort of-
where it's not just the department head that keeps their own records, because where does that then go on to the next level for you or others to intervene or have a
I
thought
think
to
it
the
would go to
process?
HR.
Like you're not gonna know unless HR is telling you.
Right.
So like there's even another layer, like if the department head is writing it down and documenting it to HR, is HR then reporting it to you? Or is there some level of confidentiality of that, and how does that get through the whole process and what you're asking for?
Good point.
Well, I mean, you're late one day, I might say something to you, hey, you need to get here on time. Is that really documentable? Or is that just, I mean, I may make a private note about it, but it doesn't really need to hit into here.
Especially
I would say as long as you're making a
Right.
note about it, and then if it would just say with an employee, it would
Right, but
become a
now if it
problem,
becomes,
then it would maybe
if
go
it
to
becomes a
court.
habitual habit, then it's
Yes.
another story.
Right,
Then you would have to have all the
Right.
documentation of
Right.
when it all happened. And
Yes.
make that. So I think
And I
when
think
you're
there's
asking if it just
documentation on
happens
that in the
once, or
document.
when it happens, I think it would have to be documented. So that if by chance it does come habitual, then you do have that backup, you know, so yeah.
How do we want to move forward here? You know, I don't know if we should make a decision tonight on the whole program, but I'd like to, what I'd like to do is task human resources to to research and, I kind of hear, how we can better do underperformance, documentation of it. And the second one is, an evaluation process, totally, kind of like, and leave that evaluation process, kind of what you're saying, give the department head this much money, let them decide.
I don't like that.
And then keep the council out of it. Indirectly.
Right.
Directly, I should say.
So how would that?
I just really don't like that.
With the 3%.
I don't like you give me money and say, here, divvy it out. That, to me, I have
Well, 'cause
7
it's just
people in
gonna be
there.
Evenly out, spread out.
Right, but
I mean, no, it's.
they're already differentiated by their salary, by their position, and then this makes it even tougher.
You got a good idea. This is it, we get.
I think it's easier for me to say that because I'm not a department head, so I think it's easier to say that. This is what we're giving you, and that's just how it is. And that's
Each
not-
employee.
Yeah, each employee, and
Well,
that's,
You all make, excluding president pay, you all make the same money. I'm gonna give you money and say, now you divvy it all out. You can't make it even.
right,
It's the same concept.
absolutely. It'd be tough.
I think it depends on the personality.
It would make.
Craig wouldn't have any trouble with that.
You don't
I
work very
probably
hard, you're not
might
gonna
have
get any,
trouble
but you might be doing really hard work and nobody knows it.
Well, and I think that's probably what it is, yeah. That's how I feel here too, and that's probably how it is over in there. The times I go in there, I see the same people, and I don't always go upstairs, so I don't know what they're doing. Unless you hear anything negative from,
Well, and even I'm gonna say, I have 6 different ladies working in there with me. I don't exactly know what each one does every minute of every day, because I don't have time for that. But to get their jobs done.
Yeah, and that's, so, what we could do is just totally scrap the idea of the request, but then we go back to the past where the department head will write it in their budget, we will be flying blind, and we will just say no, even if they're justified.
Maybe if they're gonna put it in there, maybe that's when they start a process.
Right, that's what my thought was, if they feel like it's needed, then they go through HR and still following the timelines and do it that way. And just not make it a blanket, hey, everybody, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
Maybe
It's
we
gotta come from the department.
start budgeting in a month or 2 earlier.
because I feel like if it comes from the department head, it's unlikely to happen. I don't think that.
We won't get as many.
We won't get as many, maybe that's what I'm saying. Because to your point, if we gave you a lump sum, you're not gonna divide it out, well.
Well, I'm not saying I wouldn't, I'm just saying I really don't like that idea.
I agree.
It's
I
really
would think the
difficult.
same thing. If I was the department, I think I'd be the same thing. Okay, I want harmony here. And
Well, it's
this
not
is
what
the-
harmony is. They all work hard in a different
absolutely.
way.
And that's harmony to me. It's, you gotta keep everybody happy. And last thing, I remember my dad talking about when he owned his business, and we had 3 ladies, and it seemed like it was 2 against 1 one day, and then also the next day it was these 2 against the other one, and it was a struggle some days. And when someone left, then there was 2, and it was great. It was harmony. So sometimes that happens.
You got a lot of other factors in there too.
For after hours, then you have to during hours.
So,
Yeah.
so moving forward, do we wanna just sit on it here, or do we wanna, for right now?
I think so. We can bring it up next meeting and see what our thoughts are.
The thing that sounds most agreeable to me is just not.
There is a department head meeting, I think gonna be scheduled for the 13th, it's a Wednesday, whatever the third time I'm counting.
It is. It's 13th
13th.
October.
You're welcome to come and, somebody be welcome to come and talk about it and get a department head. I'm only one person here.
What time is it?
They're usually 8 o'clock in the morning.
Be prepared.
For that October?
Yeah.
That's my fault.
And another thing.
They missed the last one, so I don't think they wanna cancel this one, I think they wanna have this one.
Did I already say that I'm not gonna be here for that October 13th?
So let's
The public hearing.
let's just kind of table it, and maybe bring it up in the next meeting or the future meetings. Okay, the next thing that I had there is discussion on the county budget book improvements and modifications. Great.
Yeah, I contacted everybody, just, I feel like, and I've talked to Sandy about it as well. I feel like there's some improvements we can make, and I don't know what it is just yet, but I want to contact other counties and see how they're doing it. I've talked to Spencer County. I know they do it in 2.5 days. They do their budget. I'm not saying we do change ours. to 2
Perry
days.
County does it in 3. I told you that the other day. Perry County does 3-day budget workshops.
Yeah.
People come in with slides and presentations.
Yeah, and that's what Spencer County said they do that
Full
too.
day?
3 days.
Full days?
She said 3 days, what she told me, 3 days.
So, I'm not sure we're at that point, but it's, I'm interested in the,
Unless
I'm reaching out to other counties, and then but I'm interested in, I wanted you guys to,
Now,
this team to have other ideas.
that
too.
budget book, I've told him we've done it since the mid-70s. It's not an end-all be-all, it's just something that we've always done. It can be changed around now. I would keep all the funds together, like all county general has to stay together. I wouldn't be jumping around in the book and saying, here's all Megan's programs and part of this county general, that makes it too difficult. But I would like to see the funds stay together, but if you want a different order, or we can try to work on something like that.
And Tanya said she'd help me with it, so we're going to, this is how I look at it, it's Sonia and I and Sandy and somebody else who she chooses on her team. And we sit down and we just kind of
Brooke's the one who's
discuss
gonna
and discuss and try
compile
to
it.
find ways to make it even better.
I'm anxious to see what you come up with.
Well, I am too. I don't know what it's gonna look like just yet, but
I guess the question is,
I wanna do it
you guys
now.
need to kind of think about, what do you want to see? I know we do the extra form for the probation, and we do the extra form for the multiple salaries, and we try to do those things to help. Is there something else that you want?
The only thing I told Craig, the only thing that would help me at all, because I'm used to the system now, I figured it out, is the people who are paid out of different funds, if we could have their lump salary from the previous year.
Add them all together in a note?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think having as many comments or notes in there kind of describing so that, yeah, you're right, when they're paid up.
The tricky thing that I've experienced with the ones who are paid from multiple funds is it's easy to slip in an extra, or to make a mistake, it's easy to make a mistake or slip something in there, because one year it's,
I get it.
it's
Now,
not the same every
The
year.
question, we have 2 years in there. We take this column and move it, and then we start over.
I like that.
Do those notes need to follow, so you we usually don't copy the notes, we blank out the notes and start over, or we leave the note from the year before.
For me, no, but
I would think if the note is useful as far as like, these come out of these 2 funds, I think that they should
Or this
say,
grant cycle is
or
this
something
year.
changes,
You
then
have
we
last
say
year's
previously
with
it
us.
was these 2 funds,
During
now it's
budget
these
time,
or
we'll
something.
see those
I don't know.
right.
to
See, it's
read.
Because
the
I'm
more
trying to
you want
think
to
of like a
compile
new
up, the
person
more
coming in.
time it takes to compile it, so, I just wanna make it.
When we were moving the funds.
And that's what I feel like our first year might be a little more challenging, but after,
Right.
whatever this is new, what it looks like, maybe after the following year, it shouldn't be there as cumbersome.
And you don't wanna make it like this so you can't read it,
But I think that's, so I'm interested if everybody could give me more information as to what they would like to see on it, that would help.
Yeah.
Should it be Sonia and I, that would help us to kind of come up with, because I know she wants to make it easier too.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, if other counties, if you call and ask them about a budget book, they'll go, well, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Cause that's a unique thing from God knows when.
Okay, so,
Yeah,
so
so,
you're gonna get together then, so.
yes,
Appreciate that, thank you. So then, I got a couple other things I just wanna get on, the courthouse square rehabilitation project. That the commissioners decided to have that point person is Elmer Bromas. So I'm gonna try to drop off that committee, and I think Brett Wetholt and.
I'm gonna go to one
He's
more
going
meeting,
one more.
just make sure they're caught up with stuff, and then I think I can drop off.
Because they're in the process, they've got the architect hired, they're gonna go ahead with the, whatever they're gonna do, and the part that covers the square, or they're gonna make it a square around the court, they wanna make it a
Make it a
square around the courthouse itself.
Make the square a square.
Yeah, so, Brett's got a handle on it, and then it's gonna all be a commissioner decision too, because when what we talked about and what some of the commissioners were talking about, possibly an elevator or set of a ramp and all, so it's something, we have to get with the architect, because he can't draw it for us. They're gonna have to decide, and it's really not the council's decision, it's for the money. So, and then the update on the jail, it's going well. We had a meeting, I guess a week ago, Wednesday, and Chad and I had a walkthrough on last Friday. They hit a rock up there when they were putting the gas line in. The city of Jasper did, and they're charging us somewhat more. And Crimp is or one of their subcontractors is putting the water line in from Brooks Cross or whatever in to back of the line for the sprinkler system and the domestic water. So that they also hit a rock, so there's going to be a cost increase there. They're working on the foundations of the jail pod and community corrections yet, and then they're looking to pour the floor slab in the mechanical room. But it's when we walk it out there, it's a maze of pipes sticking on the ground between plumbing and electrical. It's a maze of pipes, but it's going well. And then my last things here is the COVID memorial. Statement is read, and I don't know if you guys listened to it, but the commissioners read a statement that they're putting that on pause. So, I didn't know that they would be back here tonight asking,
I asked them if they wanted to come, and they said, no, not right at this moment.
Okay. So, just say, I've got notes or letters. A lot of people still don't believe or think it should be on the square. And and I was concerned at first there because of the square modifications. It's going to look different. Jasper proceeds with that architect proceeds with what they're going to do around the square. So take off with the sheriff's department. That's not going to be anymore. So it's some pretty drastic changes. So I don't know, that's enough on me. So anybody else got anything?
You taking it first?
Anybody else?
If you guys wanted to see that, I have it on my laptop. If you have 10 minutes afterwards, you can watch it here, but
Oh, I would love that.
that's totally up to you.
I'm gonna have to try to figure out how to do it, or when to do it at home, how to work.
Yeah, I think that's something I really want to watch. So that meeting is Wednesday, this Wednesday, right?
It's Wednesday risk management.
Okay, I had a question for you about, were you working with Baker Tilly on the revenue replacement, if there was any change?
No changes as far as I know.
Push to,
Now, I do want to caution you, I haven't even talked to Chad about this yet. When I was at my ASC meetings last week with my affiliation and the auditors, they did caution us, make sure you save 10% of your ARPA money back because you will be audited and all that expenses for the ARPA money can come from the ARPA money. So that's what they're recommending.
Okay, repeat that.
Say 10% of your ARPA money, you will be audited for the ARPA monies, and you can use the ARPA money for those audit costs. So they recommended 10%.
So you think it'll cost $800,000 to audit that? Okay.
Wow.
Over all the years, possibly, I don't know, you spend so much every year, I really don't know. That was their recommendation.
So I'm not privy at all to what your committee is looking at, the requests that are coming in.
He's got a whole list.
Are there a tremendous number of requests?
I'd say 20 to 30 in that range. Everything from help us paint water tower, help us with water mains and wastewater in Dubois. TriCap would like to have some money for some of the things they're doing.
Fire departments.
Yeah, fire department for Dubois
Like
in their
Dubois
regional
building.
district, yep. Then we had some ideas that the group themselves came up with. I don't have them all on top of my head, but yeah, several of them are water projects. And then the wastewater alone could eat it up, or.
Well, I mean, the park, that was $350,000, and then if we do this make ready with the broadband, that, I mean, it's gone.
And we've got 31,000 with the disabilities.
The hot spots, you mean?
Yeah, so we're under 400,000 spent so far out of that, so we still have 7.85 million left, but you could eat that up pretty quick. If the
8.3 isn't really that much.
if the committee and the commissioners both agree on these big dollar projects, then that's about it. Be done.
And it's hard easier to.
And sometimes that's, I think, as I've been considering it, that's kind of what I'd like to do. I'd rather make a couple big projects that make a big impact, because those are the things that are gonna be most difficult to pry cash out of your hands, or for us to find a way to fund.
I just think about the internet, I mean, that really is the number one complaint I've heard everyone, internet. I mean, it doesn't hit everybody, you know. It doesn't even go by my house, but it's okay, that's why they would talk to you about the other thing. So they can't come to Redstone. But no, I'm just thinking about the impact, you know. Yeah, they'll get it done in 6 to 7 years anyway, these places that they're gonna hit. But that's another 4 or 5 years that these people that are living out here are stuck with no internet or terribly expensive internet that is metered and they can't even use it half the time.
The PSC runs right by your house, right?
Yes, but, yes.
And you did talk, did you put your name in?
You're not gonna come to my house. I
Yes,
mean,
that
they're right by my
program,
house, but-
that program that's out today would be ideal.
Yes, I'm like,
Bedford Town?
well, no, they were awarded the grant money to do the certain areas, and so those are the priority areas, and one of the areas is that subdivision that's south on 162. I don't know what the name of it is.
Service on addition?
Yeah, I think so. That's one of the spots that they're gonna be doing.
Near the 4-H?
The one right past your house?
South, south of our
Yes.
house.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So they won't look my way until they're done with it. Which could be several years. Anyhow, it's not about me, but that's just the reality of how this is gonna go, you know, even this project that, you know, I was glad to hear him say that even if houses on the opposite side of the street, or the road, you know, even if they're not in that grant area, that they would still go ahead and hook them up.
Would that include you?
Pardon me?
Would that include you then?
No. They're nowhere close to me. Looking at the map, studying here.
Well, we did pass that, help, we signed that help.
I apologize that I had to go out. I had a TRICAP board meeting I had to do on Zoom in the other room.
Okay. So if there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to.
So moved.
Second.
Good meeting.
She always beats me every time.
That's all right. Thank you, all those. Thank you, all those.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay.
Okay.
So you have a video somewhere?
Yeah, I have it right here.
10 minutes?
Yeah.
About 10 minutes. Yeah, okay, home.
All right.
Yeah.
Over here.
I see you later.
Yes.
Alex,
But it's spot.
see you later.
Here it is. When we go to Indian activity program, in the Herald today.
So here, let's see it.
However, Charmaine may want to see it, but.
Information click here,
Okay.
and that
We'll
is,
do that.
uh-oh, we lost that page.